Chapter 183. What a sharp-tongued brat. Wang Xinqing flew into a rage when he saw Fei Ren's disdainful and indifferent expression. He immediately shot out and punched toward Fei Ren's heart meridian in his chest. Die! Origin energy intertwined around his fist, and an extremely powerful qi instantly erupted from it. The power of Wang Xinqing's punch was enough to kill any cultivator below the 4th level of the Star Realm. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Fei Ren with a single strike. Whoosh! Facing Wang Xinqing's powerful attack, Fei Ren didn't face it head-on. Instead, he stomped his feet on the ground and instantly used the flying sky and earth-burrowing technique. He jumped into the air like a swallow and then slowly landed behind. Whoosh! Boom! The punch missed, and the ferocious fist qi heavily smashed into the place where Fei Ren had been standing. Immediately, a huge crater was left in the arena, so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. What? Wang Xinqing's expression changed slightly when he saw his opponent dodge his punch so easily. 2nd level of the Star Realm, he exclaimed in a low voice. Although his punch didn't severely injure Fei Ren, it still revealed Fei Ren's strength. This brat is so young, but he has such an origin power cultivation. Is he really just a loose cultivator? With uncertainty in his heart, Wang Xinqing's originally arrogant and despotic face gradually turned solemn. At the same time, strands of yuan power once again gushed out from his body, as if he was planning to fight for real. The initial contempt he had for Fei Ren gradually dissipated. Wang Xinqing, is that all you've got? You're indeed trash. After easily dodging his opponent's attack, Fei Ren started to provoke him and sneered. His flying sky and earth-burrowing technique had reached the initial level, and his speed was comparable to that of a 7th-level Star Realm martial artist. As long as Fei Ren was willing, Wang Xinqing wouldn't be able to hurt him even if he attacked with all his strength. He wouldn't even be able to touch the corner of his clothes. Brat, how dare you be so insolent? In the face of Fei Ren's provocation, Wang Xinqing naturally flew into a rage. His face was filled with anger as he immediately rushed forward again. At the same time, his right hand took out a purple-gold wrought iron hammer from the spirit ring and smashed it directly towards Fei Ren. This heavy hammer was called Purple Flame Meteor Hammer. It was a genuine 3rd-grade spirit treasure, and its power was infinitely close to a 4th-grade spirit treasure. At the same time, it was also obtained by Wang Xinqing in an ancient relic. It could be said to be his trump card. Now that Fei Ren had continuously taunted and provoked him, Wang Xinqing finally stopped probing. His entire body was filled with killing intent, and he planned to completely eliminate Fei Ren. Quasi-grade 4 spirit treasure. When he saw that his opponent had revealed a powerful soul artifact, Fei Ren's eyes narrowed. At the same time, the yuan power in his palms started to circulate crazily. Then, 2 majestic mountain shadows slowly appeared behind him. Die! 5 Mountain King, capturing palm. In the next moment, Wang Xinqing swung his hammer and attacked. Fei Ren also struck out with his palms. Instantly, 2 huge yuan power palms were blasted out. The mountains within the palms overlapped with each other, and their power was equally earth-shattering as they broke through the air. Bang! Rumble! Under everyone's gaze, the purple flame meteor hammer heavily hit the yuan power palms. Immediately, an earth-shattering tremor erupted. In the next moment, the yuan power palms shattered into pieces and completely turned into nothingness. Obviously, they couldn't withstand the enormous power of the hammer. It really didn't work. Just as the giant yuan power palm dissipated, Fei Ren took advantage of this opening as his figure once again flashed. Just like a swallow, he dodged the aftershock of the attack and landed at the back corner of the arena, a contemplative look on his face. Although this guy's cultivation is only at the 5th level of the Star Realm, his strength is comparable to that of a 6th-level Star Realm cultivator. No wonder he could become the 3rd commander of the Steel Corps. Fei Ren licked his dry lips. In the next moment, a bright light shot out from his eyes. His fighting spirit was burning. Although Wang Xinqing's attack seemed very fierce, it was only on the surface. It still couldn't hurt Fei Ren at all. Moreover, Fei Ren hadn't used his full strength before. He had only used 50% of his Yuan power. Meteor Strike. Although the attack didn't work, Wang Xinqing didn't plan to give Fei Ren a chance to catch his breath. He immediately swung the purple flame meteor hammer in his hand again. As his Yuan power surged, it transformed into dozens of hammer shadows. It was hard to tell which one was real and which one was fake. They all blasted towards Fei Ren. Let's see where you can run to this time. Wang Xinqing's face was ferocious, his eyes filled with madness. This move, Meteor Strike, was a rank 3 martial art. Combined with the purple flame meteor hammer, it was even more powerful. Furthermore, this move was aimed directly at Fei Ren's vital points and blind spots, making it impossible for him to dodge. Universe 8 Trigrams Flag. Set up the formation. However, what Wang Xinqing miscalculated was that Fei Ren didn't even think of dodging. Fei Ren instantly took out a large yellow flag from his spirit ring. In the next moment, Yuan power surged, and an invisible defensive formation appeared around him. In an instant, it repelled the dozens of meteor hammer shadows. Bang! The purple flame meteor hammer was repelled by the invisible formation of a Universe 8 Trigrams flag. Then, the afterimage dissipated and the hammer fell to the ground at the side. Grandson, continue. Taking back the Universe 8 Trigrams flag, Fei Ren grinned. He still didn't take the initiative to attack. Bastard! I must kill you. Seeing that Fei Ren was unscathed again, Wang Xinqing was furious. He immediately raised his hand, and the purple flame meteor hammer on the ground was sucked into his palm again. At the same time, he channeled his Yuan power and attacked Fei Ren. Originally, he only wanted to teach Fei Ren a lesson and destroy Chang Qingshan's momentum. However, after being provoked and disdained by Fei Ren repeatedly, Wang Xinqing changed his mind. He wanted to completely obliterate Fei Ren. Only then could he humiliate him. In the arena, although Fei Ren's strength was not weaker than Wang Xinqing's, he kept dodging the attacks and didn't take the initiative to attack. The two of them chased each other on the arena, which shocked many of the soldiers who were watching the battle. Boy, do you only know how to run? Seeing that Fei Ren kept dodging and running while he couldn't do anything, Wang Xinqing's face turned pale as he roared. Fei Ren's Yuan power cultivation was only at the 2nd level of the Star Realm, while he was at the 5th level of the Star Realm. He was 3 levels higher than his opponent. With such a huge advantage, he couldn't touch his opponent at all. It was undoubtedly a great humiliation. As you wish, the warm-up is over. As soon as he finished speaking, Fei Ren's fleeing figure suddenly stopped, and his face turned serious. Good chance. Seeing that Fei Ren really stopped, Wang Xinqing was overjoyed. He was so angry that he had lost his mind. He didn't expect that since Fei Ren could easily dodge his attacks, he could also easily defeat him. Meteor Strike. With a loud roar, the purple flame meteor hammer in Wang Xinqing's hand instantly flew out. Then, it changed its trajectory in the air and turned into a dozen hammer shadows, attacking Fei Ren's vital points and blind spots. The attack was shocking. Clang! Bang! The sound of silver and iron clashing could be heard. In the next moment, an azure dragon halberd appeared in Fei Ren's hand and blocked the purple flame meteor hammer's attack. The sharp halberd was emitting a biting cold light and an extraordinary aura. It was the natal spiritual treasure left behind by Zhang Qingyang. As the 3rd captain of the 5 captains of the dragon sect, Zhang Qingyang's strength was extraordinary. He was already at the 9th level of the martial spirit realm. At the same time, his natal spiritual treasure, the azure dragon halberd, was also a rare 5th grade spiritual treasure. Its power was naturally extraordinary. What? Seeing that Fei Ren blocked his full force attack, Wang Xinqing's expression changed drastically. He was extremely shocked. Whoosh! Before Wang Xinqing could react, Fei Ren's figure twisted and disappeared from where he was standing. In the next moment, he instantly appeared in front of Wang Xinqing. At the same time, the azure dragon halberd in his hand slashed upwards, knocking away the purple flame meteor hammer in Wang Xinqing's hand, causing it to fall heavily to the side. Wang Xinqing, are you convinced? Fei Rin's wrist flicked lightly, and the azure dragon halberd in his hand suddenly shot out. The sharp halberd had instantly arrived in front of Wang Xinqing's face. At the same time, it was less than an inch away from Wang Xinqing's throat. In a breath's time, Wang Xinqing's throat would be sealed. Chapter 184. Silence. At this moment, in the drill ground, all the spectating soldiers were stunned as they looked at the high-spirited Fei Rin standing on the stage with the green dragon halberd in his hand. One had to know that Wang Xinqing was one of the 4 commanders of the Steel Corps, and his origin energy cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Star Realm. No one dared to believe that even such an expert had been defeated. Moreover, he had been defeated by a nameless Fei Rin whose origin energy cultivation was only at the 2nd level of the Star Realm. Who the hell is this kid? First, Deputy Commander Chang defeated Commander Xing. Now, Commander Wang Xinqing is defeated. Is the Steel Corps going to change? I heard that this guy is called Fei Rin. But when did such a powerful genius appear in our Corps? Furthermore, it's a waste for him to be a deputy commander with such strength. How can he be a nobody? At this moment, the atmosphere gradually became more and more heated. Many of the soldiers began to discuss spiritedly. Even some of the captains and deputy commanders turned their gazes towards Fei Rin on the stage. Evidently, they were shocked by Fei Rin's strength. In an instant, everyone's attention was on him. On the other hand, Wang Xinqing, who was defeated by Fei Rin's halberd and was in danger of losing his life, seemed to be overshadowed. He was like a rat running away pathetically. You? How? With a halberd at his throat, Wang Xinqing was terrified and furious, as if he was unwilling to believe that he had been defeated. It's very easy for me to kill you. I was just playing with you before. Do you really think you're something? Fei Rin's eyes were cold as he said plainly. With his current powers, only the 2nd Commander Yang Qing could make him take a little more seriously. The rest of the lieutenants and deputy commanders were all small fries who could not withstand a single blow. It was the same for Wang Xinqing in front of him. Damn you little bastard. After being defeated and humiliated in front of everyone, Wang Xinqing's face was flushed red and his stomach was about to explode. However, he didn't dare to move in the face of the threat of death. He could only roar in his heart. At the same time, he glared at Fei Rin with a murderous gaze. Do it if you have the guts. Do you think you can still walk out of the Iron and Steel Corps headquarters alive after killing me? Little bastard. In his rage, the fear in Wang Xinqing's heart gradually dissipated. In the next moment, his throat vibrated as he laughed coldly. At the end of his words, a look of disdain appeared on his face. He seemed to think that Fei Rin wouldn't really dare to kill him here. Right now, Wang Xinqing was surrounded by soldiers of the Steel Corps. Although he knew that he was no match for Fei Rin, he was still confident. No matter how powerful Fei Rin was, he was only a 2nd-level Star Realm martial artist. It was impossible for him to fight against the entire Steel Corps by himself. Furthermore, Yang Qing, as the 2nd commander, wasn't an ordinary person either. His cultivation had already reached the 7th level of the Star Realm. If Fei Rin started a massacre, Yang Qing definitely wouldn't sit idly by. Even though Yang Qing admired Fei Rin, he and Wang Xinqing were ultimately in the same boat. Are you scared? Little bastard, you don't dare to attack? Ha 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 ha. Wang Xinqing's expression became more and more arrogant when he saw that Fei Rin didn't say anything. He laughed loudly, his eyes full of hatred. If Fei Rin didn't kill him this time, Wang Xinqing would definitely take revenge in the future. Who says I don't dare to attack? Fei Rin's lips curled. He suddenly laughed coldly. In the next moment, the green dragon halberd in his hand stabbed forward. Elemental energy swirled around it like thunder. Not good. Little brother, please show mercy. In that instant, Yang Qing's expression also changed slightly. In the next moment, he flew towards the arena where the 2 of them were at, causing a gust of wind to howl. You, Before Wang Xinqing could even react, the sharp head of the green dragon halberd had directly chopped off his entire right arm. Blood instantly splattered in all directions, while Wang Xinqing let out a miserable shriek. Soon after, his figure once again fell to the ground like a dead dog. Boom! Retrieving the green dragon halberd, Fei Ren lifted his leg and stomped heavily on Wang Xinqing's body. His expression was cold. I didn't kill you because you're trash. You're not worth my time. You can only blame your foul mouth for cutting off one of your arms. Although Fei Ren couldn't kill Wang Xinqing directly in the Steel Core camp, as it would easily attract trouble and the Imperial Court's pursuit. However, Wang Xinqing kept calling him a little bastard, which completely infuriated him. He wasn't a kind person. Those who offended him didn't have a good ending. Pucci, spitting out another mouthful of blood, Wang Xinqing's expression was one of shock and anger. His aura had also become incomparably weak. Not only did Fei Ren's kick break several of his ribs, the hidden force of the essence energy had also seeped into his meridians, causing the injuries on his body to worsen. Little brother, you. At this moment, Yang Qing also hurried over. He was shocked. After all, Wang Xinqing's pitiful appearance was too horrible to look at. Not only was one of his arms broken and bleeding profusely, his entire body was also riddled with injuries. At the same time, he was also stomped on the stage by Fei Ren. His dignity as one of the 4 great commanders was completely gone. I won't kill him. Don't worry. Glancing at Yang Qing, who came late, Fei Ren said again. He seemed to have expected that Yang Qing would save him. Commander Yang, I am after all an independent cultivator. I'll return this person to you. Oh yes, this guy was looking for death. I only helped him. I hope that your people won't find trouble with me in the future. Otherwise, I don't mind adding a few more lives to my hands. Kicking the half-dead Wang Xinqing towards Yang Qing, Fei Ren said plainly. After that, he turned around and left. It was as if he had just settled a trivial matter that wasn't worth mentioning. Little bastard, I'll definitely kill you in the future. Seeing Fei Ren's figure gradually disappear into the distance, Wang Xinqing, who was lying on the ground and covered in wounds, had a crazed look on his face. His eyes were filled with hatred and killing intent. If looks could kill, Fei Ren would have died 1,000 times over. Ugh, Pucci. Under the attack of anger, Wang Xinqing spat out another mouthful of blood. Accompanied by a sharp pain in his chest, his head tilted to one side, and he fainted completely. Outside the arena, Yang Qing leaped and arrived in front of Fei Ren. Little brother, please wait. Commander Yang, you want to stop me too? Looking at Yang Qing, who was bewildered, Fei Ren said plainly. His gaze was as calm as water, but it sent chills down one's spine. Little brother, you've misunderstood. Today I've opened my eyes. Wang Xinqing deserves to be in such a state. I won't interfere in this matter. Furthermore, if little brother Fei Ren doesn't mind, we can be friends. Smiling helplessly, Yang Qing clasped his hands and said, as the second commander of the Steel Army, other than facing Lu Ming, he had not been so polite to anyone for a long time. However, Fei Ren was worthy of such treatment. Commander Yang, you're too kind. After seeing Yang Qing's attitude, Fei Ren did not find it strange and said, little brother, then you, his tone was a little hesitant. After seeing Fei Ren nod his head again, Yang Qing smiled. To be able to be good friends with you is my fortune. Qingshan was right about you. Little brother, you are indeed a genius. You flatter me. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Commander Yang, we'll meet again if fate wills it. In response to Yang Qing's compliment, Fei Ren nodded his head slightly. After that, he turned into a shadow and left. Furthermore, due to his immense power, none of the soldiers present dared to stop him. Instead, they allowed him to leave. I hope Yang Qing's name can be of some use. If not, I'll have wasted my effort, Fei Ren pondered in his heart. At the same time, he increased his speed. After all, the other party was the second commander of the Steel Army. His power was not small. As long as the Steel Army did not seek revenge, he would have less trouble. This guy can actually make the second commander take the initiative to express his goodwill. His strength is indeed impressive. Is he really just an independent cultivator? After this competition, I'm afraid that the Steel Corps' internal situation will change. 3rd Commander Wang Xinxing and 4th Commander Xing Wenchong have been defeated. If the Great Commander was present, he would probably not believe it. Looking at Fei Rin's disappearing figure, the soldiers in the camp were shocked. They were all convinced by Fei Rin's strength. It was as if Fei Rin was not a human, but an invincible god of war. Chapter 185. Big Brother. Brother Fei's strength is truly terrifying. Who would have thought that even Wang Xinxing was no match for him? He might even be able to compete with Commander Yang Qing. Not far away, Chang Tianyun's face was also filled with shock. At first, he thought that Fei Rin was only talented and that his cultivation was only on par with a first-rate fighter like Xing Wenchong. He did not expect him to be so freakish that even Wang Xinxing, who was at the 5th level of the Star Realm, was no match for him. Tianyun, it's a pity that you were not in the northern desolate province back then. Otherwise, you would be even more shocked. Brother Fei Rin's strength is far greater than this. Chang Qingshan glanced at Chang Tianyun beside him and shook his head. He parted his mouth and laughed faintly. Clearly, he had already expected this. When Wang Xinxing took the initiative to provoke Fei Rin, he did not stop him, nor did he get angry. This was because he knew very well that Wang Xinxing was seeking his own death. He had already seen how terrifying Fei Rin's strength was back in the northern wilderness county. Moreover, with Fei Rin's temperament, anyone who dared to offend him would not have a good ending. If they were not in the Steel Corps' headquarters, Chang Qingshan was certain that Wang Xinxing would have killed Wang Xinxing without mercy. No one would be left alive. Wang Xinxing really deserves it. If only Brother Fei had killed him on the spot. Then, we would have one less threat. Chang Tianyun snorted coldly and said again. At the same time, he clenched his fists as if he was still angry. Although Chang Qingshan used to be a general under Wang Xinxing was a fence-sitter. He and Xing Wenchong were jackals of the same tribe. Basically, Wang Xinxing had always targeted the two brothers. Because of this, Chang Tianyun didn't have a good impression of Wang Xinxing. Forget it, Tianyun. Wang Xinxing has already lost an arm. It will be difficult for him to increase his strength in the future. Moreover, Xing Wenchong's Dantian Foundation was also destroyed by my punch. We have already won this competition. You don't have to ask Brother Fei Rin to do anything. After all, we owe him a favor this time. Chang Qingshan patted Chang Tianyun's shoulder and laughed. Now that Fei Rin had agreed to come to the North City Barracks to watch the battle, and even helped him get rid of a strong opponent, it could be considered as a great help to the two brothers. If Fei Rin really killed Wang Xinxing, the two of them would be in a lot of trouble, the disadvantages outweighing the advantages. 4th Commander. The 2nd Commander wants you to go to the main tent for a meeting. A silver-armored soldier suddenly ran over and knelt down on one knee, greeting Chang Qingshan respectfully. Aren't you a soldier under Xing Wenchong? Before Chang Qingshan could say anything, Chang Tianyun, who was beside him, exclaimed in surprise. The other party's face was extremely unfamiliar to him. Furthermore, he wasn't a soldier under his big brother's command. He was under the command of the 4th Commander, Xing Wenchong. Well, we brothers had no choice. Also, everything that happened before was Xing Wenchong's idea alone. It has nothing to do with our brothers. I hope that you, Commander, can be magnanimous, seeing that he had been seen through. The silver-armored soldier's expression became awkward, and he lowered his head even more as he spoke in a low voice. Now that Xing Wenchong had lost his power, Chang Qingshan was the new 4th Commander of the army, and his power was strong. Thus the soldiers of the Steel Army were very sensible, and immediately ran over to get familiar with him. Goddamn, you guys are too easily swayed. Hearing this, Chang Tianyun slightly frowned, looking somewhat displeased as if he was quite disgusted. Don't be like that, they're not wrong. Go back and tell Commander Yang that I'll be in the main tent soon. Chang Qingshan looked at Chang Tianyun and waved his hand to dissuade them. His tone was filled with emotion, as if he understood what the silver-armored soldiers were doing. After all, There was no right or wrong in choosing the right tree to nest in. TSK, you can leave now. Work hard under my big brother, and you'll be rewarded. Seeing this, Chong Tunyon inwardly cursed and waved his hand, not saying anything else. Thank you, Vice Commander Chong, 4th Commander. Hearing this, the silver-armored soldier felt as if he had been pardoned, and he respectfully left. North City District, Steel Corps Camp, Main Tent. Brother Yang, if you have any instructions, please feel free to speak. At the side, Chong Qingshan's expression was resolute as he looked at Yang Qing, who was sitting in the middle of the tent. Qingshan, I wonder if your friend Fei Ren has any thoughts of joining the Steel Corps. Yang Qing grinned as he spoke. He had asked Chong Qingshan to come over for a discussion for no other reason than to rope and Fei Ren. Currently, only Chong Qingshan had a good relationship with him, and Yang Qing did not have a better choice. Brother Yang, this will be a little difficult. Hearing this, Chong Qingshan's expression froze, and he bitterly laughed. He knew Fei Ren's temperament very well. If he really wanted to join the Steel Corps, he did not even need to invite him. Furthermore, Fei Ren had crippled one of Wang Xinxing's arms in front of everyone, causing some of the soldiers in the Steel Corps to feel uneasy and fearful. Why? Seemingly unwilling, Yang Qing asked again as he squinted his eyes. Brother Yang, let me tell you the truth. Fei Ren is not someone who is willing to submit to others. Our temple is too small for a dragon like him. Seeing that Yang Qing was still a little stubborn, Chong Qingshan shook his head and spoke. At the same time, he told Yang Qing about his encounter with Fei Ren in the Northern Baron Prefecture. Even if we can't get him to join the army, it will be beneficial for the Steel Corps if he can have a nominal position. Qingshan, you also know that if the Great Commander knows that Wang Xinxing's arm was crippled by a nameless independent cultivator in front of everyone, and you and I did nothing, it will be difficult for us to escape punishment. Seeing this, Yang Qing seemed to have expected this, and he immediately spoke again with a heavy tone. Oh, so be it. I can get a try, but I can't guarantee success. If the Great Commander wants to punish us, then so be it. Just as Yang Qing finished speaking, Chong Qingshan also fell into silence. After a long while, he sighed. He seemed to feel that it was not realistic to rope and Fei Ren, but he did not mind giving it a try. Inside an inn in the Imperial City, Colonel, rank 6 military officer, looking at Chong Tianyin in front of him, Fei Ren rubbed his nose and said with a playful tone, Yes, my big brother really can't bring himself to do this, so he sent me to find you. If Brother Fei can become the colonel of the Steel Corps, not only will you be able to enter the headquarters of the Steel Corps as you wish, you will also be able to enjoy a salary from the Imperial Court. Furthermore, my big brother and Commander Yang have also said that no matter what happens in the Corps, they will not disturb you. Nodding his head, Chong Tianyin's expression was a little unnatural, and he laughed dryly. After all, they already owed Fei Ren a favor, and this was indeed a little presumptuous. If I reject them, won't Yang Qing and that mysterious great commander of yours come and find trouble with me in the future? Smirking, a playful smile appeared on Fei Ren's face. He naturally knew what the other party was planning. This, I don't think so. Hearing this, Chong Tianyin scratched his head. He did not think too much about this. Originally, he had only been ordered to invite Fei Ren, and his big brother had also said that even if Fei Ren rejected them, they should not force him, so as to avoid damaging the relationship between them. I'm just joking. Since it's just an empty position, I don't mind. Do as you wish. Seeing the change in Chong Tianyin's expression, Fei Ren smiled and waved his hand. Chapter 186. Brother Fei is truly righteous. Seeing Fei Ren agree, Chong Tianyin's face was filled with joy and relief. Clearly, he was a little nervous at the beginning. Fei Ren waved his hand, indicating that Chong Tianyin didn't need to flatter him, and immediately said, No need to be so polite. Although your rank 6 lieutenant position isn't very high, it is still a title conferred by the Imperial Court. The salary and reward should be quite high, right? Since the Steel Corps wanted to use his strength to boost their morale, they had to at least bleed a little. Fei Ren naturally wouldn't do something like that. Brother Fei is indeed a smart person. Of course, although a lieutenant is a rank 6 official position, it is a military position. Therefore, the salary and rewards are much higher than the civil officials of the imperial court. Also, the main rewards are origin stones and pills. After all, for martial artists who cultivate origin energy, those worldly treasures aren't very useful. Nodding his head, Chang Tianyin smiled. Although he wasn't as strong as Fei Run, he worked for the Dacha dynasty for many years in the Steel Corps. He was much more familiar with the rules of the imperial court than Fei Run. Moreover, before he was promoted to deputy commander, he was also a rank 6 lieutenant. Naturally, he knew this well. You're right, there's more. His eyes were calm. In the next moment, Fei Rin signaled for Chang Tianyun to continue. A lieutenant's monthly salary is about 50,000 inferior origin stones. If it's exchanged for pills, it's about 10 quasi-rank 3 pills. Moreover, Commander Yang also promised that Brother Fei's position in the Steel Corps is just an empty one. You don't need to do anything. There's also a gold card from Commander Yang. He specifically said that it must be delivered to Brother Fei. When the time comes, the Imperial Court will give you your salary every month. At that time, Brother Fei can use this card to go to the Alchemist Guild or the National Treasury to receive your salary. As he spoke, Chang Tianyin took out a golden square card from the spirit ring on his finger and handed it to Fei Rin. It seemed to be the gold card he was talking about. As expected of your Iron and Steel Corps, you're quite rich after accepting the gold card. Fei Rin was slightly surprised. He then joked. He wasn't a fool. The value of the gold card in front of him wasn't low. It was a private gift from the imperial court and was extremely rare. In the Dacha dynasty, only a few powerful martial artists and alchemists were qualified to receive this card. At the same time, the gold card was also a symbol of strength and status. In the martial arts world of the Dacha dynasty, there was even a rumor that as long as you had a gold card in your hand, you could go to any aristocrat's mansion and be treated as if you were their own father. Moreover, everything would be taken care of, which was enough to show how simple it was. Fei Rin did not expect Yang Qing to give him a gold card in order to rope him in. Yang Qing seemed to value his talents very highly and did not hesitate to pay a huge price. Furthermore, he had a premonition that Yang Qing would not reject him if he asked for too much. Please thank Commander Yang for me. Retracting his thoughts, Fei Rin opened his mouth once again. Although he wanted to extort Yang Qing again, he was really not interested in joining the Iron and Steel Corps, so he gave up on this idea. Brother Fei, you're too polite. That day when you crippled Wang Xinqing, you did us brothers a great favor. Even if Commander Yang didn't say anything, Big Brother and I would think of a way to return the favor. After he finished speaking, Chang Tianyin laughed. Evidently, he felt that this was a small matter and did not need to mention it. All right, Brother Fei, something big is about to happen in the Imperial City. Do you know about it? As if he suddenly thought of something, Chang Tianyin chuckled again. His expression became a little wretched and cunning. What is it? Looking at the wretched Chang Tianyin in front of him, Fei Rin's expression froze. After that, he shook his head to express that he did not know. He had just arrived in the Imperial City and spent most of his time training outside. Yesterday, he even fought with the Iron and Steel Corps' third commander, Wang Xinqing. Naturally, he was not clear about what was happening in the Imperial City. No way. Brother Fei, you really don't know. That's a little ignorant. Seeing Fei Rin's reaction, Chang Tianyin was clearly a little surprised. Why do you talk so much nonsense? Do you want me to teach you a lesson on behalf of Chang Qing Shan? Frowning, seeing that Chang Tianyin was still keeping him in suspense, Fei Rin stretched out his left hand, and a strand of powerful origin power swept out. Don't. Brother, calm down. I'll tell you now. Seeing that Fei Rin's face was filled with anger, Chang Tianyin restrained his expression and hurriedly waved his hand. Actually, it's nothing big. It's just that Princess Lu Yuan wants to hold a martial tea gathering in the princess residence in 5 days. At that time, some of the famous and powerful young geniuses in the Imperial City will be invited to take a look at the princess residence. Although the scale of this martial tea gathering is not very large, and cannot be compared to the World Heroes Gathering held by the Imperial Court, but because Princess Lu Yuan's tea skills are exquisite, and she's also very beautiful, there are many young geniuses who intend to use this opportunity to establish a relationship with Princess Lu Yuan, and even get intimate with her. Chang Tianyun slowly explained. That's all. Looking at the helpless Chang Tianyun in front of him, Fei Ren said again. There's also a small rumor. Although there are many young geniuses who admire Princess Lu Yuan, and Princess Lu Yuan's martial tea gatherings have been held a few times, none of them were successful in the end. Even the young geniuses of the 3-9 ranks of the great families did not make the princess fall in love with them. Thinking about it, it's a little strange. I don't know what kind of man Princess Lu Yuan likes. By the way, Brother Fei, I'm not keeping you in suspense. I thought you knew at first. Chang Tianyun spread out his hands and said innocently. All right, I got it. You should hurry back and report to your superiors. At this point, Fei Ren more or less understood the ins and outs of the matter. He immediately sent Chang Tianyun away. After all, he still needed to cultivate in seclusion to prepare for the World's Conference of Heroes in a dozen days. As for Princess Lu Yuan's martial tea gatherings, he was not interested. Princess Lu Yuan's name was Chu Qian, and she was the daughter of the current emperor of the Dacha dynasty, Chu Tianyang. Her strength and talent were not ordinary. Not only that, Chu Qian was also Chu Tianyang's eldest daughter. She had been doted on since she was young and lived like a princess. When Chu Qian reached adulthood at the age of 18, she received the title of eldest princess. She was ranked above all the princes and was only second to the current crown prince. She was the only princess with such an honor. As for the title of Princess Lu Yuan, it was only the most well-known title of Chu Qian's many titles. Although Princess Lu Yuan's Chu Qian's tea skills were exquisite and she was peerlessly beautiful, she could be called a beauty of a generation. However, Fei Ren had seen many beautiful girls in the past few years. If he were to talk about beauty, he felt that the Chu Qian mentioned by Chang Tianyun could not compare to the purple-robed woman who had almost killed him in the past. Boy, I'm called the Night Devil Fairy. If you want to take revenge on me in the future, come at me. The purple-robed woman's words before she left appeared in the depths of his mind. Fei Ren's expression was somewhat helpless as he sighed. The more beautiful a woman is, the more dangerous she is. I'd better not get involved in this mess and focus on cultivating. Chapter 187. Swoosh. Inside the room, Fei Ren took out a large pile of glittering demon cores from his spirit ring. In the next moment, he activated the Dermic 1000 conversion technique and began to slowly absorb the demon power contained in them. These demon cores were of different grades, but most of them were above the yellow rank. They were very valuable, and he had bought them from the Alchemist Guild. What a pity. I'll get more demon cores next time. Taking a deep breath, Fei Ren exerted force in his palms. Immediately, a few demon cores exploded and shattered. The demon power contained in them continuously flowed into his dantian. Suddenly, a warm feeling involuntarily arose and spread throughout his body. Although the demon power and the origin energy of a martial artist were mutually exclusive, the demon power contained in these demon cores was not affected by the refinement of the Immortal refining cauldron. They were all absorbed by Fei Ren's dantian and refined into pure energy. Comfortable. Fei Ren's eyebrows relaxed, and his face was filled with joy. He had only absorbed a dozen yellow, rank demon cores, and the origin energy in his dantian had increased by almost 1/5. According to this trend, he would be able to break through to the 3rd level of the Star Realm in less than 7 days. Originally, Fei Ren wanted to use these demon cores to refine pills. After all, his mental power had reached the 3rd level of the profound martial realm, but his alchemy skills were mediocre. However, the World Hero competition was approaching, and in order to quickly improve his cultivation, he could only absorb the demon cores in his body and use them to improve his strength. Continue. Fei Ren collected his thoughts. In the next moment, both of his hands grabbed at the side and picked up dozens of monster cores. Among them, There was even a low, profound rank monster core. He once again began to devour and absorb the demonic energy within it. At the same time, he circulated the dermic 1000 transformation technique. Although he had only just reached the entry level of the Dharma conversion technique, it was still a rare 9th-tier cultivation technique. Its cultivation speed was naturally extraordinary. It was much faster than the black tortoise longevity scripture when he had reached the perfection stage. Moreover, the speed at which he absorbed monster cores was also the same. In less than an hour, Fei Ren had completely absorbed all the monster cores in the spirit ring in his hand. At the same time, the Yuan power in his Dantian was gradually overflowing. He was only one step away from officially breaking through. Ever since I fused with the Immortal refining divine cauldron, my Dantian has become more and more like a big eater. Sensing that the Yuan power in his Dantian was gradually overflowing, but he had yet to break through, Fei Ren retrieved a grade 3 Yuan solidifying pill from his spirit ring, a helpless expression on his face. As his strength continued to rise, the amount of Yuan power he needed to break through also rapidly increased. If a normal cultivator at the second level of the Star Realm had absorbed so many demon cores, it would have been more than enough for them to reach the 4th level of the Star Realm, let alone break through 1 level. However, this amount of demon cores was nothing to Fei Ren. It was not enough at all. Gulp! Fei Ren placed the grade 3 Yuan solidifying pill in his mouth. In the next moment, his throat vibrated as he swallowed the pill. Then, he began to slowly absorb the extraordinary Yuan power contained within the pill with a serious expression. When he was at the Alchemist Guild, other than a monster cores and medicinal ingredients, he had also purchased a large number of high-grade pills. Among them, there were no less than a dozen grade 3 pills. These were all preparations for a breakthrough in his cultivation. Now, they finally came in handy. This was because Fei Ren was very clear in his heart that he had relied on the Immortal refining divine cauldron in his body to reach where he was today. The Immortal refining divine cauldron was an immortal Tao treasure, and there were still many secrets waiting for him to discover. His martial path was destined to be different from ordinary people's. Damn, I'm still so close. A few minutes later, Fei Ren slowly opened his eyes. Then he frowned. Under the effects of the grade 3 Yuan solidifying pill, the Yuan power in his Dantian had increased by a lot. However, there were still no signs of a breakthrough. It seemed that he was still a little short. My days are numbered. His face darkened. In the next moment, Fei Ren made up his mind. He immediately took out all the pills he had left from his spirit ring. Then, he put them into his mouth like candy. After chewing for a while, he swallowed them, excluding the miscellaneous medicinal ingredients and miscellaneous items left in his spirit ring. These pills were all he had at the moment. In order to break through to the 3rd level of the Star Realm, Fei Ren would obviously become a pauper overnight. However, he couldn't care less right now. Hiss! As a large number of pills entered his body, Fei Ren immediately felt a burning pain in his lower abdomen. He immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that the medicinal power of the pills was too strong, and his current body couldn't withstand it. After all, his Yuan power cultivation was only at the 2nd level of the Star Realm. He had swallowed dozens of pills at once, including dozens of grade 3 pills. Moreover, not to mention Fei Ren, an ordinary martial artist wouldn't be able to withstand such a vast amount of medicinal power. The situation would be even worse. Divine Cauldron appeared. With a loud roar, hot sweat appeared on his forehead. As the burning pain in his lower abdomen became more and more intense, Fei Ren immediately summoned the Divine Immortal Cauldron. It seemed that he wanted to use the power of the Divine Cauldron to weaken and suppress the medicinal power of the pills. Hum. The Divine Immortal Cauldron slowly appeared. Then, under the control of Fei Ren's mind, it began to emit a mysterious spiritual power. Under the neutralization of the Divine Immortal Cauldron's mysterious spiritual power, the hot medicinal power in his Dantian gradually calmed down. At the same time, a warm feeling spread throughout his body. Fortunately, I have the Divine Cauldron. Otherwise, if I swallowed so many pills at once, my dantian would probably explode when he felt a comfortable feeling coming from all over his body, and, at the same time, the yuan power in his dantian was slowly rising. Fei Ren immediately heaved a sigh of relief. In the room, time slowly passed. Fei Ren still maintained his cultivation posture with his palms together. Third level of the Star Realm. Breakthrough. Suddenly, Fei Ren's body trembled slightly. In the next moment, a sharp light shot out of his eyes. He was overjoyed. After absorbing a large number of devil cores and high-grade pills, his yuan power cultivation base had finally broken through successfully. He had stepped into the third level of the Star Realm. At the same time, his strength had skyrocketed again. Previously, Fei Ren's strength was enough to fight against an 8th-level Star Realm martial artist. Now that his yuan power cultivation base had broken through again, he was confident that he could even fight a 9th-level Star Realm martial artist. However, Fei Ren had yet to master the Bodhidharma 1000 transformation technique and the flying heaven and earth burrowing technique. If he encountered some veteran 9th-level Star Realm martial artists, it would not be easy for him to defeat them easily. There might be some variables. TSK, but I'm a pauper again this time. Looking at the shattered origin stones and devil cores around him, Fei Ren reached out to touch his nose. He could not help but laugh helplessly. In order to break through to the third level of the Star Realm, he had spent almost all of his wealth. Fortunately, he had broken through successfully. Otherwise, it would have been a huge loss. Chapter 188. After the breakthrough, Fei Ren did not stay idle. Instead, he continued to cultivate the Dharma 1000 conversion technique. After all, he had only reached the entry level of this level 9 technique. If he improved it further, the power of the Golden Essence Force would become even stronger. Moreover, after the Dharma 1000 conversion technique broke through to the initial level, he could also control the power of the Dharma Golden Buddha body. Although the Dharma Golden Buddha body was only an acquired tyrant body and could not be developed, it was enough to deal with ordinary warriors. It could be considered a killer move. The tyrant body was divided into the innate tyrant body and the acquired tyrant body. Its power was above the concept. The innate tyrant body was illusory to most warriors. Without extremely strong talent and perception, it was impossible to comprehend it. Therefore, it was extremely rare to be able to condense the acquired tyrant body. On the Xianxing continent, there were countless martial artists who cultivated the essence force. Most of the martial artists had very low talent and comprehension. Some of the weaker martial artists had not even comprehended the concept, let alone the innate tyrant body, which was even more powerful. As for Fei Ren being able to pick up a level 9 technique and condense the acquired tyrant body, it was already a miracle. This kind of luck was not something ordinary warriors could compare to. According to the description of the Dharma 1000 transformation technique, the small success stage of the Dharma Golden Buddha body could transform the martial artist's arms into special Dharma Golden arms. The arms would glow with extraordinary splendor, and the attack power and defense power would increase by several folds. For the current Fei Ren, his biggest trump card was not the Universe 8 Trigrams flag or the Green Dragon halberd, but the Dharma 1000 conversion technique. Although the Universe 8 Trigrams flag and the Green Dragon halberd were powerful, they were still external forces. For a warrior, as long as his own strength was strong enough, he could win 100 battles. Therefore, Fei Ren's thoughts were currently on the Dharma 1000 conversion technique. Inside the room, unknowingly, half a day had passed. Fei Ren's Dharma 1000 conversion technique had improved a lot. However, there was still some distance before he could break through to the initial level, as expected of a level 9 technique. Looks like it's not that easy to break through. With a thoughtful expression, Fei Ren stood up and stretched his back. At the same time, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After cultivating in seclusion for so long, even a martial artist's body would not be able to endure it. Their waist and neck would ache a bit. After all, a high-star realm martial artist was also a mortal body of the 3 realms. Their physique was not much different from that of an ordinary human. It was just that their lifespan was longer than that of mortals. Only when one's cultivation broke through the first level of the martial master realm and stepped into the third level of the martial body realm would a martial artist's physique be significantly strengthened. At the same time, they didn't need to eat 3 meals a day. They only needed to consume a small amount of food and energy to replenish their physical strength. It was almost equivalent to the half-step Anidia in cultivation novels. Croc, croc, twisting his neck, Fei Rin gently stretched out his left hand. In the next moment, golden essence force engulfed it, flickering with specks of golden light. Boom! Fei Rin clenched his fist forcefully, and the golden yuan power instantly spread out. At the same time, it emitted a loud, muffled sound. Even the ground beneath Fei Rin's feet trembled slightly, as if it was showing off its extraordinary power. As expected, it's powerful. If the Dharma 1000 conversion technique breaks through to the initial stage, I won't even need to use martial arts. A simple punch from me will be able to explode a martial artist below the 7th level of the star realm. Withdrawing the golden yuan power from his palm, Fei Ren's face was slightly surprised. At the same time, a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. Last time, when he fought with Wang Xinxing, his opponent was too weak to be worthy of him using the golden yuan power. Therefore, he hadn't used it for a long time. Now, Fei Ren also didn't expect that as the Dharma 1000 conversion technique gradually improved, the golden yuan power condensed by this technique would also continue to increase. Looks like I'll have to put aside the matter of refining medicine for a while. Sighing inwardly, Fei Ren immediately had a new plan. Originally, he wanted to take advantage of the fact that his cultivation had just broken through to the next level to go out and earn some money. At the same time, he also wanted to train his medicine refining skills. Because he was penniless now, he had consumed almost all the pills and demon cores in his spirit ring to break through to the 3rd level of the star realm. However, now that he was about to break through to the next level of the Dharma 1000 conversion technique, Fei Ren also changed his mind and continued to cultivate the technique. His current mental power was already at the 3rd level of the profound martial realm, which was comparable to a 3rd-rank alchemist. As for increasing his medicine refining skills and earning money, he wasn't in a hurry. Increasing his own strength was the most important thing. After all, the World's Heroes competition would begin in a dozen days. At that time, the Imperial City would definitely be filled with experts. In order to stand out in the World's Heroes competition, Fei Ren had to prepare early. After all, when the time came, his opponents would most likely be from the 3 9th ranks of the great families, or even the Imperial Chu clan's young geniuses. The strength of these young geniuses could only be stronger than ordinary martial artists. Moreover, besides the World's Heroes competition, Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, would also hold a unique martial arts tea party in a few days. She would invite all the young geniuses to make friends over tea. Therefore, the Imperial City would definitely be very lively at that time. Continue to cultivate. Collecting his thoughts, Fei Ren in the next moment once again immersed himself in his intense cultivation, silently going into seclusion. In the outskirts of the Imperial City, in a dense forest, an entire year's time. Imperial City, I'm back. A black-robed middle-aged man was quietly standing on top of a huge tree. His black pupils were deep and calm. At this moment, his entire body was emitting a cold aura, as if he had just returned from a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. It made one's heart palpitate. Great Commander Lu Ming, welcome back. Just at this moment, a cold and emotionless male voice came from the side. In the next moment, a black-robed man quietly appeared. The black-robed man's entire face was covered by a skull mask, making it hard for others to see his true appearance. Furthermore, the Yuan energy aura on his body wasn't ordinary. He seemed to be a martial arts expert. Shadow Squad? You lackeys have a pretty good nose. Sensing the appearance of the black-robed man, Lu Ming frowned his brows, then sneered, as if he had already expected it. Although the other party's cultivation wasn't as high as his, he had also reached the high star realm. Furthermore, he wasn't acting alone and belonged to an organization called the Shadow Squad. In the entire Dacha dynasty, the Shadow Squad might not be well understood by others, or even unheard of, but Lu Ming, was very clear about it. The Shadow Squad was the Imperial Guard under the command of the current king of Jin, Chuan. Every member of the Shadow Squad was quite powerful, and even the weakest of them had a cultivation of origin power at the first level of the Star Realm. Furthermore, these Shadow Squad members were not afraid of death, and were loyal to Chuan as if they were death soldiers. Speak, why is the king looking for me? I have to rush back to meet the Emperor, so I don't have time to bother with you guys. With a cold smile, Lu Ming spoke again. His tone was indifferent, as if he wasn't too interested in Chuan and his Shadow Squad. Great Commander, it's still the same old rules as before. I hope you can consider it. Furthermore, this is a letter personally written by the king for you. This subordinate still has matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Facing Lu Ming's disdain, the Shadow Squad didn't mind at all. He immediately took out a secret letter from his bosom, then flicked it towards Lu Ming. In the next moment, his figure slowly merged into the dense forest and disappeared, as if he had never appeared. Chapter 189. This bunch of people seems to be very confident. Receiving the secret document, Lu Ming did not obstruct the Shadow Guard from leaving. His expression was still cold, and no one knew what he was thinking in his heart. Haha, I never thought that I, Lu Ming, would have such a day. Prince Jin Chuan, if you want me to betray the Emperor, then you have to pay the price. Lu Ming looked at the secret document for a while. In the next moment, the corner of his mouth curled up and revealed a cold smile. Following which, a streak of elemental energy flames surged out from his palm and burned the secret document. At the same time, he flew towards the direction of the Imperial City. As the commander of the Steel Army, Lu Ming's strength was not ordinary. Naturally, he received the attention of many powers, including Prince Jin Chuan. Although Lu Ming had always been the trusted aide of Emperor Chu Tianyang, Chuan did not give up on trying to rope him in. Firstly, he knew Lu Ming's personality. He had always been selfish. Secondly, in the face of great benefits, it was impossible for him not to be moved. Furthermore, Chuan had been secretly contacting Lu Ming all these years, trying to rope him in. Although Lu Ming had worked hard for Emperor Chu Tianyang for many years and was favored by the Emperor, Chuan was very clear that Lu Ming would not be satisfied with this. If there were greater benefits in front of him, Lu Ming would definitely betray him. Furthermore, even if Lu Ming wasn't willing to betray him and insisted on working for Chu Tianyang, Chuan wasn't afraid at all. After all, he also had the ironclad army in his hands. At the same time, he also had a group of powerful death warriors known as the Shadow Squad. After all these years of concealing his strength, Prince Jin Chuan had accumulated a strong foundation. The troops under him were strong, and the experts were as common as clouds. It was comparable to half of the Dacha dynasty. His strength was already comparable to the great Chu imperial court and the royal family. Imperial City, North City, Steel Army Camp. Yangqing, after not seeing you for so long, your strength has not improved at all. In one of the main tents, the second commander, Yangqing, was sitting cross-legged. His hands were forming a spell, as if he was cultivating some sort of mantra. In the next moment, a sinister male voice sounded from outside, causing Yangqing's body to jerk and his face to turn pale. Senior Commander? Yangqing's pupils shrank as he heard the voice. He saw a middle-aged man in a black robe standing behind him quietly. He was the commander of the Steel Army, Lu Ming. It's me, but you seem to be the same as before. Seeing Yangqing's reaction, Lu Ming sneered. After that, he stepped forward and leaned on the main seat in the middle of the tent as he said plainly. It had been almost a year since he went out to train. During this time, Lu Ming wasn't in the royal city, so the matters of the Steel Army were naturally handled by Yangqing. After all, his cultivation had reached the 7th level of the Star Realm and was second only to Lu Ming in the army. Grand Commander, It's been a year since you left the Imperial City. How time flies. Looking at Lu Ming, whose aura was as dense as the abyss, Yang Qing retracted his expression and sighed. For some reason, he had a feeling in his heart that Lu Ming's strength seemed to have become stronger than a year ago, and it wasn't just by a little bit. This guy only went out to train for a year. Don't tell me his cultivation had a breakthrough again. The shrewd Yang Qing thought to himself. However, he still had a smile on his face, and no one could tell what he was thinking. That's true. Did anything happen in the royal city during this time? Just as he finished speaking, Lu Ming opened his mouth to ask. Replying to Grand Commander, it will be the start of the World Conference of Heroes soon. Princess Lu Yuan will also be holding a martial tea gathering in her residence. During this time, many martial artists have entered the royal city, and it's very lively. Facing Lu Ming's question, Yang Qing did not dare to delay as he clasped his hands and replied. Her Highness Martial Tea Gathering is just a fun event for the youngsters. As for the World Conference of Heroes, it's just a bunch of immature kids fighting. It's not a big deal. Yang Qing, you've been under me for so many years. Don't tell me you think it's a big deal. Lightly spitting, Lu Ming's tone was disdainful, as if he had expected Yang Qing's reply. Grand Commander is wise. But to be honest, something happened in the army recently, and it was beyond the expectations of many. Seeing the other party's disdainful expression, Yang Qing's eyes flickered. The anger that had yet to rise in his heart was suppressed again. Following which, he spoke about how Fei Ren crippled Wang Xinqing and how Chang Qingshan defeated Xing Wensheng with a serious tone. What? Chang Qingshan's cultivation is only at level 1 of the High Star Realm. How could he defeat Xing Wensheng? Hearing this, Lu Ming's eyes squinted, as if he was a little surprised. After all, the other party was once a favorite of his subordinates. That's right. Ever since Chang Qingshan returned from training in the Northern Wilderness County, his strength has increased. He's already at level 2 of the High Star Realm. Without denying it, Yang Qing continued. Useless thing. Even Chang Qingshan, who's only at level 2 of the High Star Realm, could defeat him. Xing Wensheng, I've been taking care of him in vain. He's really a disgrace to me. Clenching his fist, Lu Ming's face was a little ugly. In the next moment, he slowly released his fist and snorted. Whatever, this useless thing deserves to lose. Looks like I've underestimated Chang Qingshan in the past. I'll have to take care of him in the future. Although Xing Wensheng was a subordinate that he thought highly of in the past, in Lu Ming's heart, the other party was just a lackey that he could do without. Furthermore, Chang Qingshan was also a general under his command. Naturally, he wouldn't blame Chang Qingshan for such a small matter. In Lu Ming's eyes, as long as the other party was strong enough and could be used by him, it was good. As for other matters, they weren't important. Oh yes, you said that a wandering cultivator called Fei Ren crippled Wang Xinqing. Retracting his thoughts, Lu Ming opened his mouth again, and his expression turned serious. Compared to Chang Qingshan, who defeated Xing Wensheng, the Fei Ren that Yang Qing spoke of was only at level 2 of the High Star Realm. Not only did he defeat Wang Xinqing, who was at level 5 of the High Star Realm, he even crippled one of Wang Xinqing's arms in front of everyone. Such strength was unbelievable. One must know that for a High Star Realm martial artist, the difference in strength between every level was huge. Furthermore, as the third commander of the Steel Corps, Wang Xinqing's strength wasn't weak either. However, he still couldn't defeat Fei Ren, who was only at level 2 of the High Star Realm. This was enough to show how strong Fei Ren's talent was. That's right, nodding his head, Yang Qing opened his mouth and spoke with the same tone. Fei Ren, I seem to have heard this name before. Don't tell me it's the brat that Xiaoba mentioned? Squinting his eyes, Lu Ming's expression was also uncertain, following which, his pupil shrunk as if he recalled something. Commander, what's wrong? Seeing Lu Ming's expression flickering, Yang Qing also took a step forward. Nothing, Yang Qing. You can leave first. Shooting a glance at Yang Qing, Lu Ming immediately retracted his expression and waved his hand as he said plainly, it should be this brat. Chu Wen is indeed impressive to be able to recruit such a talent. Looks like I have to change my mind After Yangqing left, Lu Ming also leaned on the main seat with a serious expression. As the saying goes, a man is afraid of being famous while a pig is afraid of being fat. Imperial City, a certain inn. At this moment, Fei Ren was still silently cultivating. He didn't know that he had already become famous in the Steel Corps. At the same time, he had also left a deep impression in Lu Ming's heart. It was as if he didn't care about what was happening outside. Chapter 190. Unknowingly, a few days had passed, and Fei Ren was still cultivating in seclusion, seeking a breakthrough in his cultivation method. Imperial City, a certain inn. The heavens are helping me. The Dharma 1000 transformation technique has finally stepped into the initial stage. Suddenly, the silence in the room was broken by a long laugh. The next moment, Fei Ren pushed the door open with a happy face. After these days of seclusion, his Dharma 1000 transformation technique had finally broken through and officially stepped into the initial stage. At the same time, he was able to condense his own acquired tyrant body, the Dharma Golden Buddha body. However, Fei Ren was still not familiar with the Dharma 1000 transformation technique and had just broken through to the initial stage. Therefore, the power of the Dharma Golden Buddha body was limited. It was not the complete form of the acquired tyrant body, but only a part. Although it was only a part of the acquired tyrant body, its power could not be underestimated. Fei Ren could now use the Dharma 1000 transformation technique's golden essence energy to transform his arms into powerful Dharma golden arms. Whether it was defense or attack, they would increase by several folds. Moreover, ordinary spiritual treasures would not be able to harm them. With my current strength, as long as I don't encounter the old fellows from the 3 and 9 ranks of the great families and the top expert from the Imperial Chu clan, those so-called young geniuses in the entire Imperial City are no match for me. Thinking of this, Fei Ren secretly clenched his fists as a trace of gratification appeared on his handsome face. This trip to the Imperial City could be said to have benefited him a lot. Not only did his essence energy cultivation achieve a breakthrough, but he also obtained the treasure of the Alchemist Guild's forbidden area, the Pill Tower. It was a rare 9th grade cultivation method, the Dharma 1000 transformation technique. In addition, Fei Ren's mental energy had successfully stepped into the 3rd layer of the profound martial realm, which was comparable to a 3rd grade alchemist. Moreover, he had met Siddle Lai and the others. It's time to go out and get some fresh air. After stretching his waist, Fei Ren turned around and left. Currently, he was already penniless. Other than the spirit treasures, the Azure Dragon Halberd, and the Universe 8 Trigrams flag, there were only some low-level medicinal ingredients and miscellaneous items left in his spirit ring. He didn't even see the shadow of a demon core or origin stone. If he wanted to refine some medicinal pills, it was like a clever housewife couldn't cook a meal without rice, so he had no choice but to go out and fish for some oil and water. For a top alchemist, as long as there were enough medicinal herbs and magic cores, there would be no need to worry about not having enough medicinal herbs and magic cores. Moreover, there would be no need to look for medicinal herbs and magic cores on their own. As long as a little bit of news was released, there would naturally be countless forces licking their faces and delivering all kinds of resources to their door. Although Fei Ren wasn't a top-notch alchemist and was only a grade 1 alchemist, he didn't have to worry about the problem of medicinal herbs and magic nuclei. With his current cultivation strength, it was a piece of cake for him to get some medicinal herbs and magic nuclei. Now, magical beasts below the profound rank were not Fei Ren's opponent at all. As long as he went out to experience and come back, he could easily harvest a large pile of magic nuclei. Moreover, compared to hunting magical beasts, killing people and robbing them was also one of the ways for warriors to quickly accumulate wealth. In first floor lobby, sir, you've finally come out. Seeing Fei Ren come down the stairs, a gray-clothed manservant at the side hurriedly greeted him. It seemed that he had been waiting for a long time. Is something the matter? Seeing the gray-clothed manservant come up to him, Fei Ren was stunned for a moment and raised his eyebrows slightly. Because this was the Imperial City, the strength of most warriors was not low. The gray-clothed manservant in front of him was the same. Although he was only a small waiter in the inn, he also had the yuan power cultivation of the 4th level of the Middle Union boundary. However, facing Fei Run at this time, the gray-clothed manservant was unusually respectful, like a commoner meeting an official. Such an attitude made Fei Ren slightly surprised. "You're Sir Fei Ren, right?" Previously, there were 2 officials from the county lord's mansion who came to pass a message and specifically asked me to pass this invitation to you. As his voice fell, the gray-clothed manservant nodded and bowed. Then, he took out a dark green invitation from the spirit ring on his finger and immediately handed it to Fei Run. An invitation from the county lord's mansion? Could it be? Reaching out to take the invitation, Fei Ren's expression was slightly stunned, and then his mind trembled. Previously, he had been in seclusion in his room and had almost forgotten that today was the day of Princess Lu Yuan's martial tea gathering. Unlucky. How did she know about me? Could it be that I was too ruthless in the Steel Corps that day, and the matter has spread? Thinking of this, Fei Ren guessed that this invitation was probably from Princess Lu Yuan inviting him to the county lord's mansion to participate in some martial tea gathering. There was no other reason other than that he had crippled Wang Xinqing, a veteran high-star realm warrior, and his strength was not ordinary. After all, Princess Lu Yuan's martial tea gatherings requirements were not low. Apart from strength, the participants were basically the best of the younger generation. Collecting his thoughts, Fei Ren's gaze swept over. He saw that the surface of the dark green invitation faintly appeared with a thin layer of origin power barrier. If someone tore the invitation without permission, the origin power barrier wrapped in it would explode, and, at the same time, the invitation would be completely destroyed. It could be said that the method was exquisite. It's just an invitation, and yet there's a small defensive formation. Is it afraid that others will know the contents inside? But it's easy to guess with one's toes. In the next moment, Fei Ren also noticed the little trick in the invitation card. He immediately broke into a smile. "Sir, the invitation has been delivered. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." At this time, the gray-clothed manservant also bowed and said weakly. Although he did not know the origin of Fei Run in front of him and how strong he was, people who could make the county lord's mansion send out an invitation were generally not ordinary people. After all, everyone in the imperial city knew that the current emperor's most beloved daughter was Princess Lu Yuan. Princess Lu Yuan was also the only member of the royal family in the imperial city who had been conferred the title of Princess Royal and had her own county lord's mansion. As for the other princesses of the royal family, apart from a small title, their mansions could only be called Duke's mansions. Whether it was fame or status, they were far inferior. For Fei Ren to be able to receive Princess Lu Yuan's invitation to participate in the martial tea gathering, even if he did not become an official in the future, he would definitely be a powerful warrior, not inferior to some of the high officials in the imperial court. Therefore, this gray-clothed manservant respectfully called him sir, which was not a flattery. This is your reward. Take it." Nodding his head, Fei Ren also took out a small bottle of pills from his spirit ring and threw it to the gray-clothed manservant opposite him. These pills were refined when he was bored during his closed-door training. Although the grades were not high, and they were all first-grade pills, the quality of the pills was not bad. Most of them had reached 90% and above. Even if they were to be sold, they could be exchanged for thousands of inferior-grade origin stones. "Thank you, sir." Hurriedly receiving the small bottle, the gray-clothed manservant's eyes lit up. He immediately thanked him respectfully and hurriedly left. Although his strength was very weak, he still had some eyesight. Naturally, he could see that the small bottle of pills in Fei Ren's hand was not bad. It was enough to exchange for many inferior-grade origin stones. Naturally, he was overjoyed. Chapter 191. In front of the princess's residence in the imperial city, 2 guards with weapons in their hands were standing guard, surrounded by high walls. It was obviously heavily guarded. "Stop!" Before Fei Ren could get close, One of the guards suddenly stepped forward and stopped him with a serious expression. This is the princess's residence. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. The Faerun in front of him was dressed in ordinary clothes and looked very ordinary. He didn't look like a young genius with a strong background. Therefore, the guard subconsciously thought that the other party was just an ordinary warrior and didn't think too much about it. After all, the princess's residence was the residence of the current princess, Chu Qian. As a guard of the princess's residence, if he accidentally let some random people in and was blamed by the princess, he wouldn't be able to keep his head. Brothers, you've misunderstood. I'm the princess's guest. Faerun did not care when he saw that the guard had stopped him. He immediately took out a dark green invitation card from the spirit ring on his finger. In the next moment, he flicked it toward the guard. His tone was calm and unhurried. The origin power of the two guards at the door had reached the first level of the Star Realm. Although their strength was not bad, they were no match for him. Faerun could easily kill them with one move. However, he was in the princess's residence, and the other party was a guard under Chu Qian. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to cause trouble for himself. Moreover, Faerun did have the invitation card sent by Chu Qian, so he was an outsider. If the guards insisted on blocking his way, then he wouldn't go. After all, he wasn't interested in the martial arts tea party at all. Now, Faerun only wanted to fight with the top young geniuses of the Darchu dynasty in the World Assembly of Heroes in a couple of days and temper his strength. As for coming to participate in the martial tea gathering this time, it was purely for the sake of freeloading, and he was prepared to be a spectator. It's really an invitation card sent by the princess. This handwriting still has the aura of a small formation left behind. There's no mistake. His gaze was slightly suspicious. The next moment, the guard also raised his hand to take the invitation card and then exclaimed in surprise, "I have offended you before. Please forgive me. Please." After looking at the invitation card again, the two guards looked at each other in dismay. In the next moment, they consciously retreated to the side to make a path and then spoke in unison. Those who could obtain the invitation of Princess Lu Yuan Chu Qian to attend the martial arts tea party were basically the young geniuses of the various large families or sections. They were not people that the guards of the princess's residence could afford to offend. Although the Faerun in front of them looked ordinary, his background and strength had already crushed them. Therefore, the two bodyguards naturally didn't dare to be negligent, fearing that the other party would flare up on the spot. After all, if Princess Lu Yuan herself found out that they had intercepted an important guest of the residence, they would receive a heavy punishment. Schwa. However, what surprised the two guards was that Faerun did not seem to care about them at all. Instead, his figure flashed, and he instantly escaped into the princess's mansion. What a fast speed! Is this the aura of the younger generation of the large families and sects? Seeing Faerun disappear in the blink of an eye, the two guards' faces turned cold with shock. Arriving at the interior of the princess's residence, there were fake mountains and green waters along the way, and the scenery was enchanting. However, Faerun didn't have the slightest intention of admiring it. He only wanted to finish this as soon as possible, eat and drink his fill, and then slip away. Such a magnificent residence. Princess Lu Yuan is indeed the eldest princess who is loved by the emperor. I'm afraid that even some of the direct descendants of the princes don't have such treatment. After bypassing a few large courtyards and gardens, Faerun's face was also slightly surprised. The area of the princess's residence in front of him seemed to be even larger than he had imagined. Along the way, he had met no less than hundreds of maids and servants, but he still hadn't reached the center of the princess's residence. Damn, I seem to be lost. After turning into another courtyard, Faerun's expression was awkward. The scenery before him was still beautiful and pleasant, but he had a feeling in his heart that he seemed to have circled around and returned to the starting point, like a headless fly. Young man, are you here to participate in the princess's martial arts tea party? At this moment, an old chuckle slowly came from behind. In the next moment, a white-haired old man in linen clothes walked up to Faerun. The white-haired old man's eyes were narrowed into slits, and his old face was full of wrinkles. When he smiled, it was like a blooming chrysanthemum. "Yes, I am. May I ask who you are?" Facing the white-haired old man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Faerun immediately cupped his hands and asked in return. Although the other party's body was thin and his face was old, his eyes were deep and sharp, and the aura on his body was also unfathomable. It was obvious that he was a veteran expert who had immersed himself in martial arts cultivation for many years. His origin power cultivation was at least at the 8th level of the star realm. Moreover, an ordinary old man couldn't walk around casually in the princess's heavily guarded residence without being watched by anyone. It was obvious that the other party's status was not low, so Faerun naturally didn't dare to slight him. "I'm a housekeeper of the princess's residence. You can call me Uncle Fawn. I saw that you seemed to be lost, so I came to ask you. If you're here to participate in the princess's martial arts tea party, I can take you there." In response to Faerun's question, the white-haired old man named Uncle Fong stroked his long beard and smiled faintly. His tone was casual and casual. "Uncle Fong, thank you very much." Regardless of the other party's status and strength, Faerun was naturally happy to accompany someone who was willing to lead the way. After a while, under Uncle Fong's guidance, Faerun finally arrived at the center of the princess's residence. There was an even larger courtyard, and as far as the eye could see, there were flowers, grass, clear ponds, and clear water everywhere. In the center of the courtyard sat a simple stone pavilion, and a figure could be seen within. "This is the place, young man. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Senior, take care." At this moment, Uncle Fong said with a smile. He then turned around and left. Faerun also politely bowed towards him. This old man's strength is at least at the 8th level of the star realm, and he's even stronger than Lu Ming of the Steel Court. Such a person is actually just a small housekeeper in the princess's residence. Everyone says that Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, is favored by Emperor Chu Tianyang, but this is too exaggerated. Looking at Uncle Fong's gradually disappearing figure, Faerun's face was filled with bewilderment. "Forget it, I don't care anymore. I'll go scrounge for food first." Thinking to hear, Faerun also shook his head, then retracted his thoughts and flew towards the stone pavilion in the middle of the courtyard. "I wonder if anyone will be able to obtain the princess's favor this year. I think it'll be difficult. In the past, there were many geniuses with extraordinary strength, but none of them were able to enter the princess's eyes." That makes sense. Not only is the princess talented and strong, she has also always liked to drink tea. If both the way of tea and the way of martial arts are top-notch, there might be a chance to get close to her. Just as Faerun approached the stone pavilion, a few discussions slowly entered his ears. Looking up, he saw that there were many figures gathered around the stone pavilion. They were basically the younger generation of the various forces in the Imperial City, and most of them were at the 9th level of the Middle Unity Realm or above. There are almost no weaklings. However, the host had yet to appear, and Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, was not among the people present. It seemed that the martial tea party had not officially begun. Chapter 192. Damn, it's really just a tea party. Arriving at the side of the stone pavilion, Faerun swept his gaze forward, and then his expression was slightly stunned. There were many tea sets and stone tables placed in front of everyone. However, there was nothing else apart from a cup of clear tea. There were no exotic delicacies. His previous idea of coming over to eat and drink had been foiled because of this. "Brother, could it be that this is your first time participating in the martial arts tea party?" Princess Lu Yuan's martial arts tea party is not a banquet. It's mainly for martial arts, tea tasting, and Tao discussion. Naturally, there won't be any extravagant fish or meat. When he saw Faerun staring at him, one of the family disciples beside him also came forward and laughed involuntarily. "I see. This is indeed my first time participating." Faced with the reminder, Faerun also coughed dryly a few times. The cultivation of the family disciple in front of him was not weak. He had already reached the 10th level of the middle and high realm. His strength was about the same as Nie Fong, who had died at his hands. He seemed to be from a first-rate force in the imperial city. Otherwise, he would not have been invited here by Princess Lu Yuan. Looks like I have to find a reason to escape. After stretching his waist and realizing that the surrounding young geniuses did not notice him, Fei Rin thought to himself. Since there was no food here, there was no point in him continuing to stay. The dull atmosphere of the princess's residence made him extremely uncomfortable. He did not like to stay in such a heavily guarded place. Although the scenery was pleasant, it lacked some freedom. The princess has arrived. Just as Fei Rin was about to slip away, a soft shout came from afar. In the next moment, a tall and beautiful young woman slowly walked towards the stone pavilion. Her steps were light and graceful, and behind her were two young maids who were equally beautiful. The young woman's temperament was fresh and otherworldly. At this moment, she was wearing a sky-blue pleated dress with an exquisite fragrance pouch on her waist. Her long black hair was coiled behind her slender waist at the same time, making her look like a fairy descending from the heavens. Princess! Seeing the young woman appear, everyone's expression turned cold. Then they stood up and bowed. She is Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, at the side of the crowd. Fei Rin was also stunned for a moment as he looked at the beautiful young lady in front of him. Then he gulped. To be honest, in his memory, the purple-robed woman who killed people without blinking and slaughtered all the disciples of the Iron Palm School was beautiful and could be called a peerless beauty. However, Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian in front of him, was absolutely not bad. Is talent and strength now directly proportional to one's appearance? Thinking of this, Fei Rin grinned. Most of the women he had met over the years were beautiful and strong. Whether it was the purple-robed woman, Shun Lan, the daughter of the divine doctor who had saved his life in Forget Worry Valley, or Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, almost all of them were like this. Brother, what are you doing? Why aren't you greeting the princess? At the side, seeing that Fei Rin was laughing to himself, the face of the disciple who had warned him changed slightly. Then, he went forward and tugged at the corner of Fei Rin's clothes. At the same time, everyone's eyes also looked in the direction of Fei Rin. Princess, sensing that everyone's gaze was on him, Fei Rin immediately coughed lightly and then cupped his hands towards Chu Qian. The tea party will now begin. Everyone, please enjoy the tea. Glancing at Fei Rin at the edge of the crowd, Chu Qian nodded slightly. Her expression was still calm, as if she did not care about the other party's rudeness at all. Hee, where did this country bumpkin come from? He didn't even greet the princess. How rude. Look at this kid's ordinary clothes, his strength is average. I guess he's a young disciple from some second-rate force and wants to sneak in a fish for some benefits. In my opinion, the guards of the princess's mansion should be stricter. Otherwise, any trash from all walks of life can sneak in. It's simply disappointing. As soon as he sat down, before Fei Rin could drink his tea, a few mocking voices suddenly sounded in his ears. Their voices were filled with disdain. Crack! With a sudden force in his palm, Fei Rin instantly crushed the teacup in his hand. The fragments turned into dust on the ground, and at the same time, a crisp sound rang out. I say, what's the meaning of this? Can't you guys spit out ivory from your mouths? Turning his head to look at the few young geniuses, Fei Rin's expression was indifferent, and his tone gradually became cold. What? Stinking brat, you actually scolded us. You're courting death. Facing Fei Rin's response, the few young geniuses at the side were furious. Their faces flushed red, and they instantly stood up. It was as if they were about to start a fight if they didn't agree. For a moment, the atmosphere was tense. It can't be, it's really him. At this time, at the edge of the crowd, a white-robed man's face was filled with shock. His eyes were wide open, and his expression was filled with disbelief. It was Long Jingqiu, who had escaped from Fei Rin's hands on the outskirts of the imperial city that day. It's really him, Fei Rin. This guy was actually invited to participate in a martial arts tea party. Rubbing his eyes, Long Jingqiu confirmed that he wasn't seeing things. Immediately, his throat moved, and his face was filled with shock. Those guys are really courting death. This time, there will be a good show to watch. Gradually restraining his expression, Long Jingqiu thought to himself. He knew clearly how terrifying Fei Rin's strength was, and the strongest among the young geniuses in front of him was only at the second level of the Star Realm. They were not a match for Fei Rin at all. You want to fight? I'll fight you anytime. Let's see who's the trash. Glancing at the young geniuses opposite him, Fei Rin smiled coldly. He was not afraid of the threat at all. The strongest among the people in front of him was only at the second level of the Star Realm, and one of them was at the 10th level of the Middle Union Realm. Even if these people attacked him together, they would not be a match for him. Now that his strength was enough to fight against a martial artist at the 8th level of the Star Realm, dealing with these small fries was naturally a piece of cake. Arrogant, let me have a go at you. As soon as he finished speaking, a man with a hedgehog head also shouted angrily. Then, he rushed out and glared at Fei Rin. His origin power cultivation was at the 1st level of the Star Realm, and his origin power was fluctuating. It seemed that he had just broken through, but his strength was not bad in the outside world. Wait, since this is the Princess Tea Party, fighting here will inevitably disturb everyone's mood. Fei Rin was not in a hurry to fight. He raised his hand and waved. At the same time, he turned to look at Chu Qian on the other side. Although he could easily kill these young geniuses, Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian was the host, after all. Now that everyone was in the princess residence, he naturally had to consider the other party's face. He could not only care about his own limelight. He understood this rule. Martial tea gatherings have always been about tea tasting, martial arts competition, and Dao discussion. Since you insist on fighting, there's no harm in trying. Let this princess see the strength of the imperial city's young geniuses. In the face of Fei Rin's test, Chu Qian chuckled. Her face was like a peach blossom, and her tone was meaningful. It seemed that she also wanted to see the other party's strength. In that case, I'll embarrass myself. All right, the three of you can come together. Otherwise, it'll be boring. Seeing that Chu Qian had tacitly agreed to fight, Fei Rin's last bit of hesitation disappeared. He immediately turned to look at the man with the hedgehog head and his companions. At the same time, he raised his hand and hooked it. His tone was extremely calm, as if he was certain that he would win. Chapter 193. What? How arrogant! Let's attack together and take care of this brat. Hearing this, the man with the hedgehog head flew into a rage. In the next moment, he activated his Yuan power and charged towards Fei Rin with a shout. Let's finish him together. Immediately after, the other two young geniuses beside him also understood and attacked as well, blasting out waves of powerful Yuan power attacks. Rumble. In an instant, Yuan power swept out and raged. Several Yuan power ribbons streaked across the sky and landed around Fei Rin in an imposing manner. This guy is too arrogant. He actually wants to fight 3 people by himself. I'm afraid he'll be seriously injured even if he doesn't die. He's only at the 10th level of the middle unity stage. No matter how strong he is, it's impossible for him to fight against 3 geniuses of the same generation. Moreover, one of them is at the 2nd level of the Star Realm. The gap between the middle unity stage and the Star Realm is like a ravine. Let's wait and see. I'm afraid this brat is finished. Seeing the battle between Fei Rin and the hedgehog-headed man's group erupt in an instant, the spectators started discussing amongst themselves. Their expressions varied, but the majority of them were not optimistic about Fei Rin's chances. They felt that Fei Rin was being too careless. If the rumor that this guy destroyed Wang Xinqing is true, then these small fries are no match for him. Fei Rin, let this princess take a good look at your true strength. Not far away, Chu Qian's jade-like hand gently held a teacup. Then, her red lips took a sip of the tea. At the same time, a faint light flashed across her pretty face, as if she was thinking about something. Good timing. Seeing that the 3 people were attacking together, Fei Rin was not in a hurry. He let out a long laugh and punched forward at the same time. It was obvious that he planned to fight them head-on. What is he doing? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even some body-refining martial artists would not dare to fight against the Yuan power attacks of the three people head-on with his physical body. However, Fei Ren dared to do so. Bang! Accompanied by a loud bang, countless Yuan power ribbons collapsed under the force of the punch. Then, they completely turned into nothingness. They were actually blown up by Fei Ren's punch. How is this possible? His attack was easily neutralized by Fei Ren's attack. The man with the hedgehog's head who had spoken rudely earlier was also shocked. It was as if he had seen a ghost. One punch, facing the combined attack of three geniuses of the same generation. Fei Ren broke through it with a simple punch. Such strength had already surpassed the scope of a martial artist at the 10th level of the Middle Union realm. Even high-star realms were far inferior to him. I'll accompany you guys to warm up. Before the hedgehog-headed man and the others could recover from their shock, Fei Ren's figure slowly appeared behind one of the young geniuses. His tone was cold and indifferent. Not good. Sensing the biting, cold, murderous aura coming from behind him, the young genius's eyes flashed coldly. TSK. Pucci. Without giving his opponent a chance to react, Fei Ren raised his hand and heavily imprinted his palm onto the back of this young genius, instantly causing his figure to be blasted flying. At the same time, he rolled a few times in midair before finally smashing on the ground, and he abruptly spat out a mouthful of thick blood, causing his appearance to become extremely sorry. One-hit kill. This young genius's origin power cultivation was not weak, having already reached the first level of the high-star realm. However, he was still no match for Fei Ren. And you? His figure flickered again, and Fei Ren, who was using the great art of flying heaven and earth burrowing, instantly arrived in front of another young genius like a ghost. In the next moment, he struck out with his palm again, and a powerful golden origin power instantly exploded. Similarly, this young genius was sent flying while spitting out blood, completely losing his ability to fight. In just a few breaths' time, he had defeated two people in a row. At this moment, with the terrifying strength displayed by Fei Ren, the spectators around the stone pavilion were all shocked, and for a moment, they were incomparably silent. How is this possible? Your cultivation is only at the 10th level of the Middle Union realm. Seeing his two companions being defeated in an instant, the hedgehog-headed man's mouth trembled, and his eyes were filled with fear. Who told you that my cultivation is only at the 10th level of the Middle Union realm? With a grin, Fei Ren's aura fluctuated again in the next moment, and actually surged all the way to the 3rd level of the high-star realm. Then it slowly stopped. Obviously, he had been hiding his true cultivation before. The 3rd level of the high-star realm. Seeing Fei Ren reveal his true cultivation, the spectators' expressions changed slightly. The Fei Ren in front of them was not very old, at most 17 or 18 years old. However, his origin power cultivation was at the 3rd level of the high-star realm, which was enough to call him a genius. This princess was right. This brat is actually pretending to be weak. Looks like the person who crippled Wang Xinchen was indeed him. Seeing this scene, Chu Qian, who was sitting not far away, also had a slight change in her expression. Then, she narrowed her eyes, and her beautiful eyes seemed to turn into crescent moons. She looked like a little witch who had succeeded in her scheme. Princess, what's wrong? On the side, seeing the change in Chu Qian's expression, a young maid leaned forward and asked in a weak voice. After all, as the eldest princess in the past, Chu Qian had always silently adhered to the royal etiquette. Her demeanor was dignified, and she rarely had such a big reaction. For a moment, this young maid also thought that something had happened to her mistress. This princess is fine. You guys just watch and don't interrupt. I brought you guys here to see the world, understand? Facing the concern of her maid, Chu Qian also restrained her expression. Then, she spoke, and her tone became calm again. Yes, princess, seeing that her mistress had spoken, the young maid naturally did not dare to say anything. She immediately, silently retreated to the side, then picked up the small fan in her hand and started fanning Chu Qian. outside the stone pavilion. Seeing Fei Rin's figure gradually approaching, the hedgehog-headed man panicked. His body could not help but stagger and slide to the ground. "Sir, it was a slip of the tongue just now. Just treat it as nonsense. Please have mercy." Previously, he thought that Fei Rin was just a soft persimmon that could be easily bullied. Never did he expect that he would kick an iron plate in the end. At this moment, the hedgehog-headed man even had the heart to cry. How would he still dare to fight with Fei Rin? "Oh, that's not what you said before." Seeing that the hedgehog-headed man had admitted defeat, Fei Rin's expression was not surprised. However, he still had no intention of stopping. 5 Mountain King, capturing palm. His eyes were slightly cold. In the next moment, Fei Rin once again waved his palm and blasted out. Before the attack arrived, under the stimulation of life and death, the hedgehog-headed man's crotch became hot. Then he actually screamed and fainted on the spot. His eyes turned white. Damn, so cowardly. Looking at the hedgehog-headed man lying on the ground like a dead fish, Fei Rin was also stunned for a moment. He immediately withdrew the origin power in his palm. Originally, he only wanted to scare the other party and make an example of him. He did not intend to kill him. However, he did not expect the other party to be so cowardly. He was a martial artist at the first level of the Star Realm, but he was so scared that he wet his pants and fainted before his attack arrived. Who can help me carry this guy away?" Sensing the faint smell of urine in the air, Fei Rin pinched his nose again. Then, he looked at the people watching the battle. Chapter 194. Another insta-kill. The scene was dead silent, and the atmosphere became stiff. The spectators were unable to react in time. In less than 3 breaths, 3 people had been insta-killed. After all, the man with the hedgehog head was a martial artist of the first level of the Star Realm. Most of the people who could come to the princess residence were the young geniuses of the major families and sections. None of them were ordinary people. However, these young geniuses were still unable to fight back against Fei Rin. The man with the hedgehog head, who had been the most aggressive, ended up the worst. Not only did he faint from fright, but he also wet his pants on the spot. It was extremely embarrassing. "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and carry this guy out." Not far away, Chu Qian frowned and shouted when she saw that everyone was frozen in place. Not only Fei Rin, but even she smelled the stench of urine in the air. It was obvious that the unconscious man with the hedgehog head was scared out of his wits. "You guys, didn't you hear what the princess said? Carry him. How can such an indecent thing happen at the princess martial arts tea party?" Noticing the disgust that flashed across Chu Qian's face, a young maid beside her stepped forward and pointed at a few young geniuses. She clearly understood her master's intentions. Whoosh! Whoosh! The young maid's voice had barely faded when 2 disciples of the clan rushed out from a crowd. Then, they lifted the unconscious hedgehog-headed man from the ground one after another. It was as if they were carrying a fat pig waiting to be slaughtered. Then, they hurriedly carried him away from the vicinity of the stone pavilion. This fellow Lu Fong has really embarrassed himself all the way to his grandmother's house. Isn't that right? Who would have thought that the kid's origin power cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Star Realm? The difference between the 1st and 3rd level of the Star Realm is not small, but it's strange. I don't know which family or sect this kid is from. I'm familiar with all the young geniuses inside and outside the Imperial City. Why haven't I seen him before? When they saw the man with the hedgehog head being carried away, a portion of the crowd withdrew their gazes. They could not help but turn to look at Fei Rin, who had a calm expression on his face. For a moment, discussions broke out, and the atmosphere became somewhat heated, gradually reaching a climax. The man with the hedgehog head who was being carried away was named Lu Fong. He was the young master of the Lu clan, a first-rate force in the Imperial City. Although he was only the son of a concubine, his talent for cultivation was not weak. He was only 26 years old, but his origin power cultivation had already reached the 1st level of the Star Realm. Originally, Lu Fong wanted to show off his skills at Princess Lu Yuan's martial tea gathering and make a name for himself. Unfortunately, his luck was really bad. Not only did he kick a steel plate like Fei Run, he was even beaten to the point of pissing his pants on the spot. It could be said to be extremely embarrassing. Moreover, most of the people present here were the young geniuses of the various factions and sects in the Imperial City. It was imaginable that after this matter was spread out, not only would Lu Fong lose all face, even the first-rate faction behind him, the Lu clan, would lose all face and become a joke. Thanks for letting me win. At this time, Feiren cupped his fists and said when he saw everyone's gazes shooting over. Then, he lazily sat down, as if he had just casually settled a small matter. One exciting martial arts competition. Everyone, please continue to drink your tea. However, this Princess Martial Tea gathering is all about martial arts and Dao discussion. You don't have to kill anyone. You just have to stop when it's appropriate. Seeing this scene, Chu Qian faintly smiled. Then, her beautiful eyes looked at Fei Run, who was not far away, clearly hinting at something. What exactly is this girl up to? Is it really as simple as letting a group of old men come here to drink tea? Facing Chu Qian's meaningful gaze, Fei Run was also stunned. Then, he turned his head and looked to the other side. At the same time, he picked up the fragrant tea on the stone table and drank it in one gulp. He did not know why, but he had a feeling in his heart that he seemed to have been targeted by Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian. As for why she was targeting him, and what her goal was, Fei Ren did not know in his heart for the time being. Forget it, who cares? I'll leave after drinking some tea. Thinking of this, Fei Ren also collected his thoughts. At the same time, he stretched his waist with a satisfied expression on his face. Brother, please have a taste. At this moment, a green-clothed man at the side also handed a cup of fragrant tea to Fei Run. His eyes were filled with apprehension. It was obvious that he was intimidated by the other party's strength. It was obvious that he wanted to rope him in, and his tone was also full of respect. The green-clothed man's origin power cultivation was not weak. He had reached the second level of the Star Realm. However, his strength was still a little weaker than Fei Ren's. After all, if it were him, he would not be able to fight 1 against 3 and kill Lu Fong, who had reached the first level of the Star Realm, in one move. Thank you. Seeing that the green-clothed man took the initiative to show his goodwill, Fei Ren also raised his hand and took the teacup. The tea was clear and soft, and a bright greenish-yellow color. It was obvious that the tea leaves and the tea water were extraordinary. It was the best choice. This tea not only has the fragrance of flowers and fruits. Moreover, the tea is fresh and mellow, and it is sweet and thick when it enters the mouth. It should be the Biluakan tea from the Azure Sun County. Fei Ren lightly sipped his tea, and in the next moment, he spoke calmly. His tone was confident, and it seemed that he had a good understanding of the way of tea. This tea is indeed from the Biluakan tea from the Azure Sun County. I didn't expect that brother not only has extraordinary strength, but also has a good understanding of the way of tea. You are truly knowledgeable. I admire you. Seeing that Fei Ren was able to analyze the origin of the tea leaves with just one taste, the green-clothed man was also shocked. Then, he repeatedly sighed with emotion. I wouldn't dare to say that I am knowledgeable. I only know a little. Grinning, Fei Ren was very humble in the face of the green-clothed man's praise. I am Song Sherluin from the capital's Song family. May I know your name, brother? The green-clothed man cupped his hands again and said respectfully, You are from the Song family? Hearing this, Fei Ren's tone was surprised. Song Yuan, who was beaten up by him in the Alchemist Guild's Pill Tower, seemed to be from the Song family. Brother, what's wrong? Seeing the slight change in Fei Ren's expression, the green-clothed man named Song Sherluin was also stunned for a moment before speaking. It's nothing. My name is Fei Ren. Chuckling, Fei Ren immediately waved his hand and said, Everyone present was from the younger generation of the various major forces. Although Song Sherluin and Song Yuan were both from the Song family, he did not reject Song Sherluin's flattery. After all, having one more friend was equivalent to having one less enemy. The martial tea gathering was still going on. As the host, Chu Qian was constantly instructing her servants and maids to continuously bring out pots of good tea. Some young geniuses were unable to hold themselves back and chose to go up on stage to compete. Obviously, they were planning to show off their strength in front of Chu Qian. Among the people present, the weakest cultivation was at the 10th level of the Middle Union realm. Most of them were at the 1st or 2nd level of the Star Realm. As for the strongest cultivation, it was a young genius from the pavilion of Prince Tang, a 9th-rank sect. His name was Cheng Li. Cheng Li was an elite disciple of the pavilion of Prince Tang. Not only did he fight 3 rounds in a row, but he also won all 3 rounds easily. There were many geniuses of the same generation who were at the 2nd level of the Star Realm. His strength did not seem to be weaker than Fei Ren's at all. For a moment, he was the focus of most of the people present and was in the limelight, at the corner of the stone pavilion. Fei Ren, I didn't expect this guy to become stronger again. If father can't deal with him, he will definitely be a huge threat to the Long family in the future. Long Jingshou was silently drinking his tea. He was clearly not interested in the competition in the field. A sinister look appeared on his pale face. Although Fei Ren did not notice his presence, he could not remain calm. Because of the matter with Nie Feng, he and Fei Ren had become mortal enemies. If they fought, they would not stop until one of them was dead. Long Jingshou was very clear about this. Last time, he had used the Dragon Shadow escape and luckily escaped from Fei Ren. However, now that Fei Ren's strength had increased greatly, it would not be easy for him to escape again. Chapter 195. No, if I stay here, he'll find out sooner or later. I'm no match for him. Long Jingshou's face was filled with bewilderment. In the next moment, he clenched his fists as if he had made up his mind to flee. Brother Long, what's wrong? A young genius from another family asked when he saw Long Jingshou's gloomy face. This young genius was skinny, and his face was long and slender like a horse's face. He was wearing a light yellow robe, and although he wasn't handsome, his cultivation base wasn't weak either. He had already reached the 1st level of the Star Realm, and he seemed to be a good friend of Long Jingshou. Nothing. Brother Nya, I still have some matters to attend to and will take my leave first. Please help me pass a message to the princess. Long Jingshou withdrew his expression in the face of the yellow-robed young man's probing, after which he opened his mouth and spoke. In the next moment, he turned around and hurriedly left. Clearly, he did not wish to stay any longer in the princess residence. Why did that guy look like he had seen a ghost? Seeing Long Jingshou's figure disappear in the blink of an eye, the yellow-robed young man shook his head with a confused expression. Long Jingshou's abnormal behavior had surprised him. Forget it. Who cares? It has nothing to do with me anyway. The yellow-robed young man took a few sips of tea and ignored Long Jingshou, who had left in a hurry. The yellow-robed young man was called Nie Feng, and he was a young disciple from the Nie family, a first-rate power in the imperial city. He was talented and slightly stronger than Nie Feng, who had died at the hands of Fei Ren. He was also one of Long Jingshou's good friends. However, Nie Feng hadn't interacted with Fei Ren before, so he didn't know how strong Fei Ren was. Otherwise, he would understand why Long Jingshou had left quietly and didn't dare to stay in the princess's residence any longer. The martial arts competition was still going on around the stone pavilion, and the atmosphere was intense. Bang! A loud explosion sounded, and in the next moment, a young genius was sent flying and rolled on the ground. At the same time, he spat out a mouthful of thick blood. He had clearly lost the ability to fight and was in a sorry state. You're no match for me. Surrender. Cheng Li stomped on the ground and arrived in front of the young genius. His expression was firm and emotionless as he spoke coldly. I admit defeat. Clenching his teeth, the young genius was completely discouraged as he looked at Cheng Li, who was like a towering mountain that couldn't be shaken. He immediately lowered his head powerlessly. Obviously, he knew that he couldn't compete with his opponent, and continuing to fight would be a useless struggle. Is this the difference between a sect disciple and a secular martial artist? Clenching his fists, the young genius felt indignant and his face turned livid. His name was Wang Shuang. Not only did he come from the Wang clan, a first-rate force in the capital, but his origin energy cultivation had also reached the second level of the Star Realm. However, he was still no match for Cheng Li. Cheng Li's origin energy cultivation had already reached the fourth level of the Star Realm, and his strength was astonishing. He was far stronger than his peers. This Cheng Li guy is really abnormal. Even Wang Shuang was defeated. This is the fourth one, right? He has already won 4 matches in a row. No wonder he's the top genius of the pavilion of Prince Tang from the 9th ranks of the great families. His strength is so terrifying. Even if he's in the world hero competition, he can still make it into the top 10. After Wang Shuang was defeated, he also returned to his seat with a sullen look on his face. On the other hand, the young geniuses who were watching the battle were in an uproar. Suddenly, there was a lot of discussion and sighing. Obviously, they were all shocked by Cheng Li's strength. Outside the stone pavilion, in a corner, Brother Fei, what do you think of Cheng Li? Looking at the majestic Cheng Li across from him, Song Sherluin sipped a few cups of tea to calm himself down. Then, he asked Fei Run in a surprised tone. Among the people present, except for the host, Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, whose strength was unknown, Cheng Li's cultivation was the strongest. He had reached the 4th level of the Star Realm. Moreover, he was from the pavilion of Prince Tang from the 9th ranks of the great families. His combat strength was far stronger than ordinary martial artists of the same level. He could be considered a formidable opponent. His strength is average, but compared to the young geniuses present, he's not bad. Facing Song Sherluin's probing, Fei Ren's expression was still calm. It seemed that he didn't think much of Cheng Li's performance. This Brother Fei is indeed a person with a big heart. Seeing Fei Ren's reaction, Song Sherluin was also very surprised. He originally thought that Fei Ren would give him a very high evaluation. He didn't expect that the powerful Cheng Li was only average in Fei Ren's eyes. This made it difficult for him to remain calm. Brother Fei, do you want to fight? Swallowing his saliva, Song Sherluin probed again. From his point of view, perhaps only Fei Ren was able to fight with Cheng Li from the 9th rank sect, Pavilion of Prince Ting. The others simply did not have any chance of victory in a one-on-one duel. No, I'm only here to drink tea today. Shaking his head, Fei Ren took another sip of tea. His tone was indifferent. Although Cheng Li's strength was not bad, he was not his opponent. He was only about the same as Wang Xinqing. With his current strength, fighting Cheng Li was equivalent to an adult bullying a defenseless child. There was no point in fighting such a battle, and it was very boring. Song Sherluin was stunned. He was clearly surprised by Fei Ren's answer. TSK, a 3rd-level Star Realm cultivator against a 4th-level Star Realm cultivator. I wonder if Cheng Li is stronger, or if Brother Fei will have a last laugh. Although Fei Ren didn't have any intention of fighting, Song Sherluin didn't think so. He immediately sighed and secretly praised himself in his heart. On the other side of the stone pavilion, Princess, this guy called Cheng Li seems to be quite strong. Moreover, he has already won 4 matches in a row. The young geniuses of the great families don't seem to dare to fight against this guy. Seeing that Chu Qian was still sitting at the side, slowly brewing tea with her jade-like hands, as if she had no interest in the intense battle in the field, one of the young maids couldn't help but speak with a sigh. Although this person's strength is not bad, he is still not worthy of this princess's attention. Compared to him, this princess is more interested in seeing Fei Ren's strength. This princess has a feeling in her heart that this guy must have been hiding his strength earlier. Little Chui, your eyesight still needs to be improved. Glancing at the young maid beside her, Chu Qian spoke in a gentle tone. Her beautiful eyes were still calm and composed. Clearly, she felt that the other party was making a fuss over nothing. Yes, faced with her master's warning, the young maid called Little Chui's pretty face turned slightly red. Then, she stuck out her tongue and silently retreated to the side, no longer speaking. Chapter 196. Wang Xinqing is one of Uncle Lu Ming's capable subordinates. He's quite powerful, and his cultivation has reached the 5th level of the Star Realm. Since this Fei Rin fellow can cripple Wang Xinqing, then his strength must be above him. If this princess can rope him in, I'm sure father will be very happy. Chu Qian's gaze wandered as she looked at Fei Rin, who was calmly drinking tea not far away. A trace of contemplation flashed across her egg-shaped face, as if she was scheming in her heart. Unlike the other princes and princesses, as Chu Tianyang's most beloved daughter, Chu Qian didn't only know how to enjoy glory and wealth and didn't care about the matters of the imperial court. On the contrary, she wanted to share some of Chu Tianyang's pressure. Although Chu Tianyang was the current emperor of the Dacha dynasty, some discerning people inside and outside the imperial court could see that Chu Tianyang's throne wasn't as stable as Mount Tai. The current Prince Jin, Chu Wan, was one of his greatest threats, and Chu Qian was very clear about this. However, the Chu clan was the royal family, and naturally had the royal family's rules and ancestral teachings. A prince was a prince, after all, and couldn't be disobeyed. Although Chu Wan and Chu Tianyang had more and more conflicts, both sides were still as harmonious as before in the imperial court. As a prince who controlled a large number of troops, Chu Wan still didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of the emperor, Chu Tianyang, and always abided by his duties as a prince. However, the tree may want to remain calm, but the wind won't stop. As Chu Wan's foundation grew stronger and stronger, the number of capable soldiers under his command increased. The current emperor, Chu Tianyang, also gradually felt a trace of threat. He also secretly roped in martial experts from various places, trying to strangle Chu Wan's ambitions in the cradle. Although both sides didn't directly shed all pretense of cordiality, they constantly clashed in the dark. Therefore, Chu Qian had the idea of roping in martial experts for Chu Tianyang. As for the martial tea gathering, it was also considered. After all, those who came here were the peak geniuses of various clans and sections. However, what made Chu Qian disappointed was that apart from Cheng Li and Fei Rin, who had some strength, everyone else was mediocre. Their strength couldn't be considered elegant. Moreover, Cheng Li was a young genius from the pavilion of Prince Teng from the 9 ranks of the great families, so he was basically excluded. As everyone knew, the Dacha dynasty had 3 9 ranks of the great families. Pavilion of Prince Teng was one of them. Although the 3 9 ranks of the great families chose to submit to the royal family on the surface, the emperor, Chu Tianyang, may not even be able to order people from the clan of the clans. This was because when the Dachu dynasty was founded, the Chu clan relied on the strength of these 9 ranks of the great families to sweep away the heroes and ascend to the throne. The ancestors of the Chu clan also promised that the royal family and the imperial court would not interfere in the affairs of the 3 9 ranks of the great families. Therefore, the probability of Chu Qian wanting to rope in Cheng Li to work for the imperial court was very low. Moreover, the 9 ranks of the great families behind him would not agree. Even the Ling Jian school, which had the best relationship with the imperial court, was only harmonious on the surface. It was impossible to make him work for the imperial court. Royal uncle's ambition is getting bigger and bigger. I hope royal father is prepared. Thinking of this, Chu Qian also withdrew her gaze. Then, she rubbed her forehead with her jade-like hand, and her pretty face was solemn. On the other side, around the stone pavilion. Damn it, what does this brat do? He only defeated a few pieces of trash, but he actually got Princess Lu Yuan's attention. After defeating Wang Shuang, Cheng Li was in high spirits. At this moment, he was standing on the spot with his arms crossed. However, when he saw Chu Qian's gaze on Fei Rin, his face suddenly changed, and his expression immediately turned ugly. Pretentious brat, watch how I'll deal with you today. After snorting coldly, Cheng Li also withdrew his thoughts in the next moment. Then, he slowly walked toward Fei Rin's direction. The aura around his body was shocking, as if he was in the Azura purgatory. It also made the surrounding young geniuses shudder. Brother Fei, Cheng Li is coming. At this moment, seeing Cheng Li slowly walking toward him, Song Shilun, who was next to Fei Rin, also changed his expression slightly. Then, he hurriedly said in a somewhat panicked tone, After all, his origin power cultivation was only at the second level of the Star Realm, which was similar to Wang Shuang's. Moreover, his actual combat strength was even weaker than Wang Shuang's. He was definitely not Cheng Li's match. If he went up and fought with Cheng Li, he would be asking for trouble. However, what shocked Song Shilun was that Fei Run was still drinking tea and did not notice the murderous Cheng Li walking toward him. Your Excellency's strength is extraordinary. Why don't you come up and show me your skills? Are you afraid? Looking coldly at Fei Run, Cheng Li's lips curled up, and then he provoked him. This tea is not bad. It seems to be high-quality tea, Guanyin. Brother Song, why don't you try it? Ignoring the aggressive Cheng Li, Fei Run smiled faintly, then raised the teacup in his hand and handed it to Song Shilun, who was next to him. Seeing this scene, Song Shilun's face was blank. He seemed to be unable to react to Fei Ren's actions. Bastard, you dare to ignore me? Seeing that Fei Run was still calmly drinking tea, as if he didn't put him in his eyes, Cheng Li couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. He suddenly flew into a rage, and at the same time, raised his hand and swept the teacup in Fei Ren's hand to the side. Crack! Accompanied by the crisp sound of porcelain shattering, the teacup in Fei Ren's hand also completely shattered, turning into a pile of fragments. At the same time, the tea splashed everywhere. Silence. The atmosphere was as silent as stagnant water. Suddenly, there was complete silence. Countless shocked gazes looked at Cheng Li and Fei Run in the field, as if they were waiting to see how the situation would develop next. Kneel down and slap yourself 20 times. Apologize, and I can consider letting bygones be bygones. After a long silence, Fei Run finally spoke slowly. At the same time, he raised his eyes to look at Cheng Li. His cold and emotionless eyes were like an extremely cold ice cave, causing people to shudder. Who do you think you are? Brat, you only defeated a few pieces of trash. What are you being arrogant for? Looking at Fei Ren's cold and emotionless eyes, Cheng Li's body trembled, and his mind trembled. However, in the next moment, it was replaced by boundless anger. The veins on his forehead bulged, and at the same time, his face was filled with anger as he shouted. As an elite disciple of the 9 ranks of the great families, his strength and status were illustrious. However, he was actually threatened by a 3rd-level Star Realm rogue cultivator in front of everyone. If he was not in the princess's residence, Cheng Li would have killed Fei Run to vent the anger in his heart. Since you keep calling me trash, if I were to kill you, wouldn't you be worse than trash? With a chuckle, Fei Run immediately stood up slowly. His tone was mocking, and a trace of killing intent appeared on his handsome face. Chapter 197. Go to hell. Cheng Li roared furiously. He could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. He raised his hand and punched toward Fei Ren's face. Swoosh! The force of the punch pierced through the air. The power of this punch was enough to severely injure any martial artist below the 3rd level of the Star Realm. It was obvious that Cheng Li was determined to kill Fei Run. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Cheng Li's fist was forcefully stopped in midair, unable to move an inch forward. Fei Ren's left hand formed a palm, with origin power surging in his palm. It seemed as if he had effortlessly stopped Cheng Li's attack. At this moment, his expression was calm and indifferent. If you want to fight, I can play with you. Fei Ren's eyes were cold and emotionless. Since Cheng Li wanted to kill him, he naturally wouldn't show any mercy. Ever since he stepped onto the path of martial arts, he had faced countless enemies and fallen into countless dangerous situations. However, every single person who wanted to take his life died in the end, becoming nameless corpses that he trampled under his feet. Cheng Li was naturally no exception. His opponent was merely an elite disciple of the 9 ranks of the great families. His strength was only comparable to Wang Xinqing's. It was simply impossible for him to kill Fei Run. How can this be? After his fist was blocked, Cheng Li felt an incomparably huge force coming from Fei Ren's palm. At this moment, Cheng Li's face turned red, and his expression was one of disbelief. One had to know that his origin power cultivation was at the 4th level of the star realm, while Fei Ren was only at the 3rd level of the star realm. Changli naturally couldn't remain calm when his all-out punch was easily stopped by Fei Ren despite the fact that Fei Ren was 1 level higher than him. They're actually fighting. The battle was on the verge of breaking out in a flash. Even the young geniuses around the stone pavilion didn't expect the intense confrontation between Changli and Fei Ren. Princess, look, the two of them are about to fight. At this moment, a young maid beside Chu Qian exclaimed in shock. After all, among the numerous young geniuses present, only Changli and Fei Ren were the strongest. If these two people were to fight, it would inevitably attract the attention of everyone. After all, one of them was a powerful and mysterious loose cultivator genius, while the other was a noble disciple of the 9 ranks of the great families. Both of them were not ordinary people. Princess, from what I see, that Changli is very angry. Could it be that he's going to kill that brat? I heard that he's just a rogue cultivator. Should we? Seeing that Chu Qian did not have any reaction, the young female servant weakly spoke. Her tone was probing. Xiao Chui, do you think Fei Ren will lose? After a few breaths of silence, the corners of Chu Qian's mouth finally curled up slightly. Then, she opened her mouth and a playful expression appeared on her pretty face. It was as if her thoughts were different from the young maidservant named Xiao Chui. Well, in the face of her master's question, Xiao Chui was also stunned for a moment. She seemed to be thinking of how to answer. However, in the next moment, Chu Qian's gentle voice sounded again. Don't worry too much. Although the elite disciples of the 9 ranks of the great families are powerful, that fellow called Fei Ren is not as simple as you think, yes. Hearing this, Xiao Chui did not say anything, since her master did not want to interfere and wanted to watch the fire burn across the river. As a servant, she naturally did not dare to say anything. Although Chu Qian usually doted on her the most, once she angered her mistress, her ending would be very tragic. The rules of the princess's residence had always been very strict. There was a clear hierarchy. Even a most favored servant could not be arrogant because of the favor. Let go. Around the stone pavilion, looking at the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, Changli also roared in the next moment. At the same time, the yuan power in his body swept out, as if he wanted to break free from the restraint of Fei Ren's palm. The veins on his forehead could not help but bulge. As you wish. With a cold snort, Fei Ren also circulated the yuan power in his body. At the same time, he lifted his leg and kicked towards Changli's dantian in his abdomen, causing a gust of wind to whistle. Bang! Boom! The fist and leg collided, creating a deafening sound. In the next moment, Changli's figure was also sent flying by Fei Ren's kick. As if he could not withstand the huge impact, his whole body retreated dozens of steps before he could stabilize his body. His face was in a sorry state. So strong. Who exactly is this person? Even Changli was defeated. Seeing this scene, the expressions of the crowd changed slightly. In a short confrontation, Fei Ren, who was at a disadvantage in terms of yuan power cultivation, actually had the upper hand. How could this not cause the crowd to be extremely shocked? You, who exactly are you? There is no one like you among the younger generation inside and outside the imperial city. Feeling the waves of intense pain from his fist and the web between his thumb and index finger, Changli's face was gloomy and ugly. He could not help but raise his head to look at Fei Ren again, his voice full of disbelief. Although the exchange with Fei Ren was very short, Changli also understood that his opponent's strength had already exceeded his imagination. In order to block Fei Ren's kick, not only did he circulate all his yuan power, but he also felt as if the bones in his entire arm were about to be shattered. For a moment, he was in incomparable pain. Who I am is not important. You only need to understand that there is a price to pay for acting tough. In the face of Changli's questioning, Fei Ren only grinned. Then, his figure flickered and actually appeared in front of Changli. Originally, he only wanted to quietly drink tea and did not want to make a move. However, there were always some ignorant people who wanted to find trouble with him. Since this was the case, Feyrin did not mind making an example out of them. He wanted to let these so-called young geniuses of the Imperial City know that some people were destined to be untouchable. Bastard, go to hell. At such a close distance, Cheng-Li felt the powerful aura on Feyrin's body. At this moment, Cheng-Li was furious and directly punched out. Boundless Yuan power transformed into dozens of fist-force streams at the same time, as if he was unwilling to sit still and wait for death. The struggle of an ant. In the face of Cheng-Li's powerful counterattack, Feyrin also faced it head-on with his palm. Instantly, Yuan power swept out and raged, transforming into an incomparably powerful Yuan power giant palm, with overlapping mountain ranges within it. Bang! Pucci! Accompanied by a deafening roar, the Yuan-powered giant palm instantly shattered the fist-force streams and then ruthlessly landed on Cheng-Li's body. Golden Yuan power swept out and raged, and also fiercely blasted Cheng-Li's body back. He felt the ground like a broken sack, and at the same time spat out a mouthful of blood. You! I am a disciple of the pavilion of Prince Tung of the 9th ranks of the great families. You actually dare to attack me? The pavilion of Prince Tung will definitely not let you off. Cheng-Li struggled to get up from the ground. At this moment, he had already lost his previous imposing manner, and his eyes were filled with madness and resentment as he looked at Feyrin. Not only had he suffered a crushing defeat in this martial tea gathering, but he had also lost face in front of Princess Lu Yuan and many of the younger generation in the Imperial City. As an elite disciple of the 9th ranks of the great families, Cheng-Li was naturally unwilling to be humiliated, and all of this was because of Feyrin before him. Bastard kid. As he thought of this, the hatred and anger in Cheng-Li's heart rose by another 30%. In his heart, he had already made up his mind. This time, when he returned to the sect, he would definitely ask his master to take action and make Feyrin suffer the consequences. Are you done with your nonsense? However, what made Cheng-Li unable to believe was that Feyrin didn't seem to care about his threat in the pavilion of Prince Tung of the 9th ranks of the great families. Instead, Feyrin leaped and once again landed in front of him. If you're done, then scram. Feyrin coldly glanced at Cheng-Li, and in the next moment he also raised his hand and threw out a slap. You, Before he finished speaking, Cheng-Li felt half of his face being ruthlessly slapped, and his entire body was actually sent flying on the spot. In the end, he rolled a few times before slowly coming to a stop. At this moment, his mouth was filled with unclear blood and broken teeth, and half of his face was swollen like a pig's head. Chapter 198. Looks like you're worse than trash. You can't even take a single hit from me. Have you wasted all your cultivation on a dog? After sending Cheng-Li flying with a slap, Feyrin raised his head and flicked the dust off his clothes as he said indifferently. Although Cheng-Li was from the pavilion of Prince Tung, one of the 9 ranks of the great families, his cultivation was only at the 4th level of the Star Realm. His strength was about the same as the 3rd commander of the Steel Corps, Wang Xinqing. Although he was considered pretty good among the young geniuses, he paled in comparison to Feyrin. With Feyrin's current strength, he could easily defeat or even kill an ordinary martial artist at the 7th level of the Star Realm. Only veteran martial artists at the 8th level of the Star Realm and above could make him feel threatened and challenged. For example, the current commander of the Steel Corps, Lu Ming. You puffed. Cheng-Li was enraged by Feyrin's mockery. He immediately spat out a large mouthful of blood. Then his eyes lost focus and he fell to the ground again. His head tilted to the side. It was obvious that he had fainted from anger. Cheng-Li had lost. Seeing Cheng-Li spit out blood and fall to the ground, the spectators at the side of the stone pavilion looked at each other with shocked expressions. Cheng-Li, an elite disciple of the pavilion of Prince Tung, one of the 9 ranks of the great families, whose cultivation had reached the 4th level of the star realm, had been easily defeated by a nameless rogue cultivator. Moreover, his opponent's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the star realm. He didn't have an advantage in terms of cultivation base. This person is a monster. I heard that his name is Fei Run. He's not from the Imperial City. I wonder which county he's from. Even Chung Li wasn't his opponent. However, the pavilion master of the pavilion of Prince Tung is the current Medicine King, Lin Feng. With Medicine King Lin Feng's prestige, this brat still dared to be so ruthless and heavily injured Chung Li, an elite disciple. Medicine King Lin Feng won't let this go, right? Looking at Fei Run, who is quietly standing not too far away with an imposing aura, as well as Chung Li, who is lying unconscious on the ground, the spectators started to discuss with different expressions. Fei Ren had already become the focal point of this martial tea gathering, and his reputation was greatly shaken. This guy's strength is indeed not bad. Even Chung Li was not his opponent. On the other side, Chu Qian's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked at Fei Run, who was in the limelight. Her beautiful face involuntarily revealed a trace of contemplation. No one knew what she was thinking in her heart at this moment. One has no choice in the martial world. When he sensed the gazes directed at him from the surroundings, Fei Run softly sighed. Originally, he did not want to be high profile. However, there were too many people who actively sought death. Towards someone like Chung Li who wanted to be beaten up, he naturally had to satisfy the other party's special request. Brother Fei, you defeated Chung Li? Song Shiluan's eyes were wide open as he looked at the calm Fei Rin in shock. It was as if his eyeballs were about to pop out. Yeah, it was just a small matter. Fei Rin lifted his hand and drank a cup of tea. He pursed his lips and spoke softly. It wasn't that he liked to show off. Although Chung Li was an elite disciple of the 9 ranks of the great families, he wasn't the strongest. Compared to the young geniuses in the World Hero competition, he wasn't even worth mentioning. Every World Hero competition had young geniuses and sect disciples from all over the Dacha dynasty. It could be said that experts were as common as clouds, and there was no lack of top prodigies above the 7th level of the Star Realm. Compared to these people, the young geniuses of the Imperial City that were participating in the martial tea gathering this time were undoubtedly inferior by a level. After all, the World Summit of Elites represented the top combat strengths of the younger generation of the Darchu dynasty, and the young geniuses that were able to make a name for themselves at the martial tea gathering would at least become lords of an area in the future. Brother Fei, your strength has really opened my eyes. Please allow me to toast you again. Song Shiluan was also stunned by Fei Ren's calmness. Then, he calmed himself down and raised the teacup in his hand. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel lucky that he had tried to curry favor with Fei Ren. As a disciple of the Song family, one of the top forces in the Imperial City, Song Shiluan clearly knew the benefits of being on good terms with a top genius like Fei Ren. With Fei Ren's strength, he would definitely become famous throughout the Dacha dynasty in the future. Therefore, if he was on good terms with Fei Run, it would also greatly benefit his family. Song Shiluan was very clear about this. I appreciate Brother Song's kindness, but I've drunk quite a bit of this tea. It's time for me to leave. However, to Song Shiluan's surprise, Fei Ren didn't accept the cup of tea. Instead, he shook his head and turned around to leave. Brother Fei. Before Song Shiluan could finish his words, Fei Ren's figure flashed and directly ran out of the courtyard. It seemed like he didn't plan to stay any longer. Fei Ren, stop right there. At this moment, it wasn't just Song Shiluan. Seeing that Fei Run was planning to escape, Chu Qian, who wasn't far away, was also slightly stunned. Then, without caring about her image and etiquette, she also jumped up and stopped Fei Run, who was about to leave. Princess, why are you stopping me? Looking at Chu Qian, who frowned slightly and was a little angry, Fei Run was immediately stunned. Then, he couldn't help but laugh. This girl is indeed a great beauty. Although everyone said that Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, was as beautiful as a fairy, there were very few people who had seen it with their own eyes. Even Fei Ren was no exception. Princess. At this moment, the two young maids beside her also hurried over. Their faces were panicked, as if they were frightened by Chu Qian's swift and decisive action. Fei Ren, why are you running away? Ignoring the concern of her maids, Chu Qian stared at Fei Ren with her beautiful eyes that were as big as silver bells. Running away? Hearing this, Fei Ren was a little confused. That's right. Without my permission. Anyone who leaves the martial arts tea gathering without my permission is considered to be running away. According to the rules of the princess residence, they will be beaten. However, looking at your strength and skills, and with the protection of origin energy, I reckon that ordinary beatings won't be able to hurt you, unless it's a martial artist. With a sly smile, Chu Qian also put her hands on her hips. The arrogant princess temperament was completely revealed. Obviously, she was also pampered, and there was no lack of domineering in her tone. Princess, what do you mean? I don't understand. Seeing this scene, Fei Ren's face also froze, and then gradually became serious. Although he knew that this martial arts tea gathering was not simple, he never thought that the other party would really target him, and it seemed to have been planned for a long time. It's very simple. I have taken a fancy to your strength. If you follow me, there will be many benefits. And the royal family just happens to need a young genius like you. How about it? Fei Ren, are you willing to do it? Grinning again, Chu Qian opened her mouth and said. She did not have the slightest bit of the cold temperament from before, and in front of him was the attitude of a spoiled young girl. Princess, didn't you usually teach us to pay more attention to words and etiquette? Why today, seeing that Chu Qian's nature was exposed, the young maid beside her also hurriedly said, as if hinting Chu Qian to pay more attention to the royal family's etiquette in public. Shut up. What do you want to do with me? Really, shut up, shut up. Facing the reminder, Chu Qian's pretty face was also slightly dissatisfied. Then, she glared angrily and scolded, causing the two young maids to tremble, and immediately nodded and left. Chapter 199. Princess, I'm just a rogue cultivator. There are many experts under the imperial court and the royal family, so they shouldn't need me, right? Hearing this, Fei Ren immediately understood the other party's thoughts and smiled bitterly, his tone tactful. Although serving the royal family was the dream of many warriors in the Dacha dynasty, Fei Ren did not think so. Firstly, he was used to being carefree, and secondly, the internal struggle of the royal family was equally intense. He did not want to be involved in the struggle and be used as a tool by others. Perhaps Chu Qian did not know about Prince Jin's ambitions, but Fei Ren's heart was as clear as a mirror. Back then, Chu Wen's subordinate, Xiao Ba, also wanted to rope him in, and even planted a deadly goo. If not for the immortal refining cauldron in his body, he would be a chess piece in someone else's hands, and it would be difficult for him to escape. You mean to refuse? Just as she finished speaking, facing Fei Ren's tactful refusal, Chu Qian's beautiful face was slightly stunned, as if she was somewhat surprised. Yes, forgive me for being unable to comply. Nodding his head, Fei Ren's expression was helpless. In the future, he would definitely leave the Dacha dynasty and head to a wider world. At the same time, he would search for the mystery of his life. Naturally, he would not stay in a remote place like the Dacha dynasty for long. Fei Ren, do you know that not everyone can work for the royal family? If you nod your head and agree now, this princess can ask my father to give you a position in the royal family. As if she was unwilling, Chu Qian frowned and pursed her lips. Sorry, princess. Unwilling to say more, Fei Ren cupped his hands again, as if he had already made up his mind. You Fei Ren, you actually don't know what's good for you. At this point, Chu Qian's beautiful face was also slightly angry. At the same time, she raised her jade-like hand and pointed at the other party. She glared at him, as if she was somewhat angered by Fei Ren. After all, the great Chu imperial family was different from the imperial court. Those that could become a consecrator of the imperial family were all people with great strength. They enjoyed the authority and salary that many dukes did not have. Some of the consecrators even had a higher status than some princes, such as Lu Ming from before. As the commander of the Steel Corps, Lu Ming might have an official position in the imperial court, but he wasn't under anyone's jurisdiction and only listened to Emperor Chu Tianyang. At the same time, he enjoyed a large amount of salary from the royal family, which was one of the benefits of being a consecrator of the royal family. Therefore, Chu Qian never expected that the other party would reject her offer in such a straightforward manner, even though she had already offered such a huge benefit. Moreover, as the eldest princess, not only did she have a noble status, her strength and talent were also not weak. She had always been doted on by everyone. Today, she had lowered her status to rope in Fei Run, but the other party still rejected her. This made Chu Qian feel a little embarrassed. "Princess, are you all right?" Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward and both sides were in a deadlock, the two young maids at the side also came forward and asked in a weak tone. It could be seen that the two of them were a little flustered, as if they rarely saw Chu Qian lose her composure like this. "Princess, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." Seeing Chu Qian lose her composure in front of him, Farron also coughed dryly, then flashed and left. If it wasn't a last resort, he didn't want to have any relationship with Chu Qian. After all, there were so many pairs of eyes watching him. Moreover, Princess Lu Yuan, Chu Qian, could be said to be a peerless beauty inside and outside the imperial city. Who knew how many young elites and disciples of aristocratic families had fallen in love with her? Fei Ren was very clear in his heart that if he were to get too close to her, there would definitely be a lot of trouble. After all, since ancient times, femme fatale wasn't a baseless rumor. Even in the ancient times, there were some powerful experts in the Black Star continent who failed miserably and fell under the skirt of a pomegranate. Not to mention that Fei Ren was only a little trash at the third level of the Star Realm. "Fei Ren, stop right there." Seeing that Fei Ren was about to leave again, Chu Qian was flustered and exasperated. She immediately stepped forward and wanted to pull him back. "Princess, there are too many people here. Men and women shouldn't touch each other." Fei Ren's voice faintly sounded in her ears. In the next moment, Chu Qian was also stunned. The jade-like hand that she had just stretched out suddenly withdrew, and a faint blush appeared on her beautiful face. "Stinking brat, if you dare to leave, I'll ask Father to order the whole world to arrest you tomorrow." Chu Qian lightly bit her lips and lightly snorted again. It seemed that she didn't intend to let Fei Ren leave so easily. "Princess, I'm just a good citizen. I can't withstand your torment. Please let me go." In the face of Chu Qian's threat, Fei Ren also sighed at this moment. Then he had no choice but to stop. There was a faint helplessness on his face. After all, the influence of an arrest warrant was huge. The other party was the princess of the imperial family. Once a high bounty was offered, there would definitely be a large number of bounty hunters and martial artists who would come looking for trouble. Moreover, there would be no end to it. Even Fei Ren couldn't handle it. You don't dare to run this time, right? This princess can't deal with you. Now you only have two choices. The first is to obediently follow this princess. The second is to become a wanted criminal and be hunted down by the martial artists of the entire Dacha dynasty. Fei Ren, you choose yourself. Seeing that Fei Ren had admitted defeat, Chu Qian also faintly smiled. Her red lips slightly curled up, and her eyebrows were filled with pride. "Cough, cough, is there a third choice? In your dreams?" Fei Ren dryly coughed. Before he finished speaking, Chu Qian widened her eyes again and lightly shouted, "What ability does this brat have to be able to make the princess intercept him? Do you think the princess has fallen for this brat? It's hard to say. After all, this Fei Ren had just defeated Cheng Li from the 9th ranks of the great families. It can be said that his strength is formidable. Don't talk nonsense. Throughout history, there have been countless disciples from the great families and sects who have proposed marriage to the royal family. None of them are ordinary people. Although this brat has strength, he is only a rogue cultivator. How can a toad be able to hook up with a golden phoenix?" Seeing that Chu Qian and Fei Ren were echoing each other, and were in a deadlock. The onlookers not far away were also shocked. They looked at each other, and for a moment, there were endless discussions. After all, there were very few people who could make Chu Qian personally take action, let alone a mere rogue cultivator like Fei Ren. Damn, is this girl pestering me? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come. Looking at Chu Qian's stubborn appearance that seemed to not give up until she achieved her goal, Fei Ren also secretly thought in his heart, and suddenly felt a headache. Hurry up and say it. This princess is very busy. I don't have time to waste here with you. Fei Ren, as a man, why are you being so wishy-washy? Seemingly a little impatient, seeing that Fei Ren did not speak for a long time, Chu Qian frowned again and said, now that everyone's gazes were gathered here, she did not want this matter to spread out to avoid new problems. After all, she still represented the dignity and image of the great Chu royal family. It was inevitable that she would be criticized if she was entangled with a rogue cultivator. Chapter 200. Princess, if you insist on making me a consecrator of the royal family, then I only have one condition. Seeing that Chu Qian was unwilling to let him go, Fei Ren immediately understood that if he did not lower his head, the other party would not let him leave. Speak, what condition? Seeing that Fei Ren had finally relented, Chu Qian immediately opened her eyes wide with a look of concentration. As the princess of the imperial family, she had seen many young geniuses. However, it was rare to see someone like Fei Ren, who was a rogue cultivator with such great talent and strength that even the elite disciples of ninth-rank sects could not compare to him. Therefore, Chu Qian was even more determined to rope him in. Right now, Fei Ren's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Star Realm, and his strength was already so strong. In the future, when he grew up, he would definitely become a great help to the royal family. Just like the commander of the Steel Corps, Lu Ming, it was not impossible for him to become Emperor Chu Tianyang's right-hand man. Thus, Chu Qian naturally would not let Fei Ren leave so easily. She did not even hesitate to throw away her princess image and royal etiquette to stop Fei Ren in front of everyone. Very simple. Fei Ren grinned and gently extended a finger. He first pointed at Chu Qian, who was opposite him, and then pointed at himself. As long as your highness can defeat me, I will willingly become a consecrator of the royal family and work for the emperor. Furthermore, I will do as I say. Defeat you? Hearing this, Chu Qian was stunned for a moment. Her pretty face was slightly suspicious, as if she was a little surprised. Yes, if I lose, everything will be at your highness's disposal. If I win in the end, I hope your highness will not stop me from leaving. Nodding his head, Fei Ren also said with a serious expression and a sincere tone. In the world of martial artists, strength was respected. Right now, he was in the princess manor, and there were many experts in the royal family. If he were to go against Chu Qian's wishes, it would be difficult for him to forcefully leave the manor. He would definitely be chased by a large group of experts. For example, the steward of the princess manor, Uncle Fong, was an expert that wasn't any weaker than Lu Ming. Furthermore, there was also a large group of imperial guards that weren't weak. Faced with such a heavy encirclement, Fei Ren was bound to fall into a bloody battle. At that time, even if he was lucky enough to escape, Chu Qian would probably not let the matter rest. She might really spread a wanted order through the imperial court and put a bounty on his head. Indecisiveness leads to chaos, Fei Ren thought in his heart. He could not help but clench his fists tightly. He was not willing to be tied to the same chariot as the royal family of Great Chu. Although the other party was a woman, in order to escape, he could only let Chu Qian suffer a little. Although Chu Qian's cultivation was not weak, it was only around the 5th level of the High Star Realm. Furthermore, it seemed that she had just broken through not long ago, and her cultivation was not stable yet. If Fei Ren wanted to win, it would be very easy, and he would not need to use his full strength. Fei Ren, you are too confident. Do you really think that this princess is trash like Chengli? All right, this princess will agree to your conditions. Let's have a match. You are a man, so don't go back on your words if you lose." The expression on her face gradually returned to normal. In the next moment, Chu Qian also let out a soft laugh. Her charming face was brimming with confidence. After all, she was a direct descendant of the royal family. Since she was young, the cultivation methods and martial arts she cultivated were all top-notch. Furthermore, she had many trump cards and life-saving methods. Not to mention that Fei Run was only at the 3rd level of the high-star realm. Chu Qian's strength could even hold the upper hand against the geniuses of the 3 and 9 ranks of the great families. This was also one of the reasons why she was not afraid of Fei Ren's challenge. In her heart, she was already certain of victory. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back. Without any objections, Fei Ren nodded slightly. Right now, he only wanted to escape from the princess residence as soon as possible. As for anything else, it had nothing to do with him. "All right, little green, little red, tell the servants to see the guest out. Today, this princess wants to show off her skills." Chu Qian glanced at the 2 young maids beside her. In the next moment, she raised her hand and said, clearly, she had made up her mind. She planned to completely defeat Fei Run and make him submit. "Yes, princess." Seeing that Chu Qian intended to personally make a move, the 2 young maids did not dare to stop her again. It seemed that they were afraid of being reprimanded earlier. They immediately nodded and left. "What's going on?" "This brat actually wants to compete with the princess. He is too arrogant. Rumor has it that Princess Lu Yuan's talent and strength are extraordinary. She has already stepped into the 5th level of the high-star realm, far surpassing Cheng Li, who came from the 9 ranks of the great families. How can this brat be a match for the princess?" The situation changed again and again. Nie Qing Feng, who was watching from the side, was also stunned. He was somewhat confused. First, Chu Qian appeared to intercept Fei Run. Now, the 2 of them wanted to compete. This was something that had never been seen in the previous martial tea gatherings of the Princess Manor. Moreover, it was not only him. The surrounding geniuses also looked at each other and discussed animatedly. "The princess has ordered that the martial tea gathering is now over. Your Excellency, please return." Just as Nie Qing Feng was surprised, a soft female voice came from the side. He saw that a young and handsome maid had unknowingly stood beside him. She then bowed and said, "Miss, who is that brat? Why did the princess personally make a move?" Seeing that the other party was chasing away the guest, Nie Qing Feng asked at this moment. He seemed to be somewhat unwilling. After all, the most exciting scene was about to take place, but the martial tea gathering had come to an abrupt end. "I don't know. I heard that his name is Fei Run. He is just a rogue cultivator. Please return. Don't make things difficult for me." The young maid shook her head and said. At the same time, she bowed slightly. "Fei Run? Could it be him?" Hearing this, Nie Qing Feng was stunned at first. Then, his expression changed drastically, as if he had recalled something unforgettable. Nie Feng died tragically outside. Long Jingqiu has been hemming and hawing, not daring to say anything. He only said that it was a rogue cultivator called Fei Run. If there is no one with the same name, it should be this brat. Secretly sucking in a breath of cold air, Nie Qing Feng suppressed the shock in his heart. His expression was uncertain. He and Nie Feng, who had died at the hands of Fei Run, were from the same family. They were both direct descendants of the Nie family, a first-rate force in the imperial city. However, he was slightly stronger than Nie Feng. Moreover, he was a sworn brother of the Long family's young master, Long Jingqiu. No wonder Long Jingqiu ran away as if he had seen a ghost. It turns out that he met his sworn enemy. However, I have no enmity with this Fei Run. If there is anything, he will only look for Long Jingqiu to settle the score. Fortunately, thinking of this, Nie Qing Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he turned around and hurriedly left the county lord's mansion. Clearly, he did not intend to stay any longer. Not long after, the various geniuses in the county lord's mansion had all left. Apart from a few maids and guards, only Fei Ren and Chu Qian were left in the courtyard. At this moment, they were staring at each other from afar. The atmosphere around the stone pavilion gradually became tense. It was as if a great battle was about to break out. "Princess, please forgive me." Cupping his hands, Fei Rin's expression was solemn. In the next moment, strands of golden origin power gushed out from his body. They coiled around his body like a golden dragon. At the same time, he emitted a soul-stirring and invisible aura. Chapter 201. Fei Rin, I'll make you accept your defeat today. Chu Qian frowned slightly as strands of powerful origin power gushed out from her body. In the next moment, she flew up and slapped her palm toward Fei Rin. Swoosh! In an instant, Fei Rin felt a gust of wind whistling toward him. His opponent's attack was extremely swift and ferocious. In an instant, she was already in front of him. It was obvious that she did not intend to hold back. Five Mountain King capturing palm. With a low shout, a heavy palm suddenly blasted forward. In the face of Chu Qian's sudden attack, Fei Rin did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward to meet her attack head-on. Bang! Their palms collided, and in the next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Two different types of yuan power entangled and swallowed each other, before suddenly exploding. Fei Rin and Chu Qian's figures borrowed this extraordinary impact to fall backwards, and each of them retreated more than 10 steps. They were evenly matched. Not far away, a few young maidservants who were watching the battle were shocked. Although Chu Qian rarely fought personally, her strength was enough to rank among the many disciples of the imperial family. Even the current crown prince, Chu Jiuxing, could not be underestimated. It could be said that she was not inferior to men. However, when facing a loose cultivator, Fei Rin, whose origin power cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Star Realm, Chu Qian was still unable to gain the upper hand. This was truly shocking. Is this guy called Fei Rin so powerful? Could it be that the princess is purposely holding back because she is afraid of injuring him? The young maidservant named Xiao Chui was slightly stunned. Then, she gently covered her slightly open mouth with a shocked expression. In her opinion, Chu Qian must have held back. Otherwise, with Fei Rin's strength, he would not be Chu Qian's opponent at all. Boom! However, before Xiao Chui could think further, another rumble came from the surroundings of the stone pavilion. Chu Qian's attack did not slow down, and she pressed forward step by step. Immediately, dozens of sky blue origin power ribbons blasted out in the air and swept toward Fei Rin's vital points. Although Chu Qian's attack was fierce, Fei Rin did not suffer any serious injuries. At this moment, his body was like a swift swallow as he moved up and down, leaving behind afterimages. He dodged most of the attacks. His speed was obviously not bad. Boom! Another beam of origin power streaked across the sky and landed heavily on the ground in front of Fei Rin. It left a deep pit in the ground. The origin power aura inside the pit was condensed and didn't disperse. It was enough to show how powerful the origin power was. If an ordinary Star Realm cultivator had been hit head-on, they would have lost a layer of skin, even if they didn't die. What a powerful move! Its power is close to that of a rank 4 martial art. This lass is indeed the Emperor's favorite princess royal. Stepping on his elemental energy, Fei Rin's body was as light as a swallow at this moment. He dodged all of Chu Qian's attacks, and, at the same time, landed steadily not far behind with a surprised expression on his face. Presently, the flying earth escape technique had already stepped into the initial stage. Fei Rin was also able to condense a pair of wings of origin energy behind him and fly in the sky. But Chu Qian's strength was still insufficient to force him to use this move. Moreover, executing flight in the sky consumed an extreme amount of origin energy. Unless it was a last resort, he wouldn't easily use it. Fei Rin, do you only know how to run? Seeing that Fei Rin had been using his speed to dodge left and right instead of facing her head-on, Chu Qian's pretty face was slightly angered, and she shouted loudly. In her opinion, although her opponent wasn't weak and could easily defeat Cheng Li from the pavilion of Prince Tong, That was the extent of his strength. He wasn't a match for her at all. However, what Chu Qian didn't expect was that Fei Run didn't face her head-on, not because he wasn't strong enough, but because he had other concerns. Currently, there were many experts in the princess residence, and many pairs of eyes were staring at him. Fei Run wasn't a fool. He knew that if he dared to hurt Chu Qian, he would definitely be surrounded by a large number of experts from the princess residence. Rather than that, he might as well win with speed. As long as Chu Qian's origin energy was exhausted, Fei Run would naturally be able to defeat her without a fight. With the help of the flying sky and earth burrowing technique, even a martial artist at the 7th level of the Star Realm might not be able to catch up to him, let alone Chu Qian, whose cultivation was only at the 5th level of the Star Realm. Thus, Fei Run was very confident. Your Highness, speed is also a kind of strength. As long as you can defeat me, the previous promise is still valid. Fei Run grinned. Facing Chu Qian's provocation, he naturally didn't fall for it. At the same time, the tip of his foot lightly touched the ground, and he soared into the air again. He narrowly dodged his opponent's attack, and was still unharmed. Brat, let's see how you dodge this move. Seeing Fei Ren soar into the air, Chu Qian suddenly smiled coldly from below. In the next moment, a white light flashed in her hand, and she took out a sky-blue sword from the spirit ring on her finger. At the same time, the words Heavenly Lady were engraved on the sword's edge. This is a 3rd Great Spirit treasure. In the air, Fei Ren was slightly surprised when he saw his opponent reveal her natal spirit treasure. A 3rd Great Spirit treasure was several times more powerful than a 2nd Great Spirit treasure. Moreover, it was also very expensive in the black market. An ordinary 3rd Great Spirit treasure could be exchanged for tens of thousands of low-grade origin stones. Moreover, it was usually priceless. The sky-blue sword in Chu Qian's hand was obviously not an ordinary 3rd Great Spirit treasure. Its power was even more powerful. Heavenly Lady's sword art, flowing cloud. No longer showing mercy, Chu Qian also shouted at this moment. At the same time, rolling origin power wrapped around her sword. In the next moment, she swung her sword diagonally. A biting cold sky blue sword chi also swept towards Fei Run in the air like a flowing cloud. Not good. I've been tricked. As the sword chi attacked, Fei Ren's face turned cold. He knew that things weren't going well. Previously, on the ground, he could use his martial arts to easily dodge his opponent's attack. However, now that he was in the air, his body didn't have any leverage. Facing Chu Qian's biting cold attack, it was difficult to dodge easily. He could only take this sword head-on. Clang! Boom! In the blink of an eye, a wisp of majestic origin power suddenly gushed out from Fei Ren's arms. Then, his entire arms transformed into a gorgeous reddish-gold color, like Shaolin Bodhidharma. At the same time, it blocked Chu Qian's sword chi. The origin power exploded and overflowed. In the next moment, his body fell to the ground. Bang! The soles of his feet landed heavily on the ground, shaking up a layer of airwaves. That was close. I was almost tricked by this girl. With my current strength, it's not enough to withstand this sword. A sweet taste surged up his throat. Fei Ren's face was a little scared. Although he had origin power to protect his body, the power of his opponent's sword was not weak. Even some of the southern barbarian martial artists who cultivated their body would not dare to take it head-on. If it wasn't for Bodhidharma 1000 transformation technique that could transform his arms into Bodhidharma golden arms that could attack and defend, Fei Run would have been seriously injured this time. At the very least, he would have spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. As for ordinary martial artists of the same level, they would have been killed by Chu Qian's sword on the spot. How can this be? He actually blocked it. On the other side, compared to Fei Run, Chu Qian was even more shocked. She had never thought that her powerful sword would be blocked by her opponent. Furthermore, Fei Run was still in midair, so there was no space for him to dodge. This brat, he didn't fight back before because he looked down on this princess. Thinking of this, Chu Qian was even more furious. It turned out that Fei Run was not weaker than her. Instead, He did not want to fight with her at all. After all, the fairy sword art was a first-rate rank 3 martial art. Its power was extraordinary. Chu Qian's origin power cultivation was at the 5th level of the Star Realm. With the two of them supporting each other, its power increased by a few levels. Even an ordinary 6th level Star Realm martial artist would have a hard time blocking it. On the other hand, Fei Rin's origin power cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Star Realm. Not only did he block her sword head-on, but he also did not seem to be injured. How could Chu Qian not be angry? Chapter 202. Beside the stone pavilion, Princess, I really don't want to fight with you. Please let me go. The golden light on his arms gradually faded and returned to normal. In the next moment, Fei Rin smiled bitterly. Now that he was in the princess residence, he could sense that there were at least 5 to 6 strong elemental energy auras. Furthermore, they were constantly staring at him. If Chu Qian fell into a disadvantageous position and showed signs of being injured, Fei Rin was certain that these hidden experts would definitely appear. Moreover, unless it was absolutely necessary, he was unwilling to reveal his true strength. This might cause more trouble. If Fei Rin had planned to win with force, Chu Qian would not have had a chance to fight back. This girl is really stubborn. I didn't know that the Princess Lu Yuan was such a strong-willed person. Fei Rin felt helpless. He was in a dilemma now. Moreover, looking at the other party, it seemed that she was determined to win. Cut the crap. Since you have such strength, why didn't you dare to fight back? Are you looking down on me? Just as he finished speaking, Chu Qian snorted disapprovingly. Princess, there are many experts in your residence. Don't tell me you don't know how many pairs of eyes are watching here. Moreover, you are the Princess Royal and have the title of Princess Lu Yuan. As a citizen of the Dacha dynasty, how can I offend my superior? Fei Rin grinned and retracted the aura around him. It seemed that he did not plan to fight anymore. Although he had exposed the Dharma 1000 transformation technique and the Dharma golden arm, the secret of the Immortal refining cauldron and the green dragon halberd had not been exposed. Fei Rin was slightly relieved. If the secret of the Immortal refining cauldron was exposed, there would be no place for him in the entire Black Star continent, let alone the Dachu dynasty. You're right. However, we must determine the winner today. Fei Rin, I admire your strength. Looking at the cultivation method and martial arts that you used before, I can tell that you have an extraordinary opportunity. No wonder Chung Li and the others were not your match. But don't worry, this princess will not covet your opportunity. You can also use your full strength. If you can injure me, I won't pursue the matter. In the face of Fei Rin's rhetorical question, Chu Qian was stunned at this moment. She fell into deep thought. However, in the next moment, she raised the long sword in her hand again and pointed the tip of the sword at Fei Rin, who was not far away. Why is this girl so stubborn? Hearing this, Fei Rin also felt a headache coming on. He couldn't help but have the urge to rush up and knock Chu Qian on the head. The other party didn't listen to him at all. Take this. Without giving Fei Rin a chance to react, Chu Qian brandished her sword and attacked again. Boom! The long sword swept across the sky, instantly bursting out dozens of sky blue sword chi, immediately enveloping Fei Rin from top to bottom. Without a single blind spot, the attack was fierce. The Tier 3 spirit treasure in Chu Qian's hand was called the Fairy Sword. Furthermore, the Fairy Sword art that she performed was one of the best among the Tier 3 martial arts. Its power was close to that of a Tier 4 martial arts. In addition, her origin energy cultivation was not weak. Even Fei Rin did not dare to be careless. It's coming again. Looks like I can only teach this girl a lesson. Seeing that his persuasion was fruitless, Fei Rin immediately gave up on the peace talk. Strands of golden origin energy once again gushed out from his body. At the same time, he raised his hand and blasted out dozens of giant origin energy palms, facing the incoming sky blue sword chi head-on. Bang! Rumble! In a flash, the giant origin energy palms and the sky blue sword chi fiercely collided with each other, emitting a violent shockwave. A wave of powerful impact spread out in all directions, causing the ground around the stone pavilion to tremble slightly. Swish! With a flash of his figure, Fei Rin used the remaining force of the impact to move his feet and land steadily at the side. Is this girl crazy? Do you really think that I don't dare to hurt her? With a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, Fei Rin's expression was solemn. In order to not hurt Chu Qian, he only used less than 50% of his strength. Moreover, he did not use his trump cards such as the 8 trigrams flag and the green dragon halberd. The 5 Mountain King capturing palm was only a broken quasi-rank 4 martial art, and its power was inferior to Chu Qian's heavenly sword art. Moreover, the opponent's origin energy cultivation was 2 realms higher than Fei Rin's. In addition, Fei Rin did not use his full strength, so it was inevitable that he would suffer some injuries. Forget it. I'll capture her first. As long as I don't hurt this girl, the experts in the princess's mansion won't do anything to me. Thinking up to here, Fei Rin also made up his mind. At the same time, he spread out his arms, and in the next moment, strands of golden origin energy appeared once again. In an instant, his entire arm actually transformed into a reddish-gold color, just like Shaolin Bodhidharma. Just like what Chu Qian said before, as long as he could win this competition, the opponent would not pursue the crime of offending his superior. Moreover, the experts in the princess's mansion who were hiding in the princess's mansion would have no reason to deal with him. Fei Rin, you'll definitely lose today. Just as Fei Rin was thinking, Chu Qian waved her sword and attacked again. Moreover, her attack was even more ferocious than before. Heavenly Sword Art, 9th Style, Heavenly Flower Scattering. Chu Qian's eyes narrowed. In the next moment, her jade-like hand trembled slightly, and she wielded her sword diagonally. Boom! A large amount of origin energy swept out. An enormous sky-blue sword chi burst out from the sword. Then it soared into the air and exploded, turning into countless icy blue sword chi. It fell from the sky like a heavenly flower scattering, and its power was shocking. The heavenly sword art had a total of 9 styles. At the same time, the power of the 9th style was close to a quasi-rank 4 martial art. In addition to the support of the rank 3 Spirit Treasure Fairy Sword, the combination of the 2 styles made its power comparable to a real rank 4 martial art. At the same time, this was also Chu Qian's strongest trump card. Brat, let's see how you're going to fight this time. Chu Qian's red lips curled up slightly as she wielded her sword. A touch of pride appeared in her beautiful eyes. In the past, she had used this trump card to defeat a rank 6-star realm martial artist. At the same time, she had fought to a draw with a rank 7-star realm veteran expert. Therefore, she was very confident that Fei Rin would definitely lose. Great! Faced with the sword chi that filled the sky, Fei Rin laughed. At the same time, his palms blasted out continuously. In an instant, a dozen origin energy giant palms appeared out of thin air and faced the oncoming sword chi head-on. Although Fei Rin had held back previously, he had to admit that Chu Qian, who was Princess Lu Yuan, was indeed more powerful than those young geniuses before. She was the only opponent who had forced him to go all out. After all, even Cheng Li, who came from the pavilion of Prince Teng, the 9 ranks of the great families, could not make Fei Rin use the power of the Dharma transformation technique. He was sent flying with just 2 slaps. Boom, boom, boom. In a breath's time, the dozen origin energy giant palms could not resist the power of the sword chi that filled the sky. They collapsed and dissipated one after another, producing bursts of rumbling sounds. In the next moment, the sword chi that filled the sky did not diminish in the slightest. It continued to fall toward Fei Rin on the ground. At the same time, it blocked all the blind spots in the surrounding area. The attack was fierce. Dharma Golden Arm, Fei Rin shouted in a low voice. In the next moment, he withdrew his hands to his waist. At the same time, he placed them horizontally in front of him. Obviously, He did not plan to dodge. Instead, he planned to use his physical body to resist the attack of the sword chi that filled the sky. His eyes were burning with passion. Chapter 203. This move again. Chu Qian was slightly taken aback when she saw Fei Rin's arms turn into a reddish-gold color again. In the next moment, she clenched her teeth and said, "But it's useless. The power of my sword is comparable to a fourth-grade martial art. You won't be able to block it with your mere third-grade star realm cultivation." The fairy sword art was her most powerful trump card. It was also one of her most famous techniques. Even her brother, the current crown prince, Chu Jiuxing, didn't dare to block it with his physical body. Yet, Fei Rin was so arrogant that he tried to block it with his physical body. It was like a fantasy story. We'll know if it's useful after we try. Fei Rin was determined when he heard Chu Qian's persuasion. He immediately activated his origin power again, and the dazzling golden light on his arms shone even brighter. His entire body seemed to be covered by a layer of golden light, and he exuded a shocking aura. This guy really doesn't want to live anymore. Chu Qian watched in horror as the sword aura that filled the sky descended. Rumble! A large amount of sword chi swept out and raged, instantly enveloping the area around Fei Rin. The next moment, there was a loud explosion, producing a series of ear-piercing tremors. Fei Rin's body was also enveloped by the sword chi, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This guy is interesting. He actually forced the princess to use her full strength. He's a good seedling. Not far away, on top of the eaves, a white-haired elder stood with his hands behind his back. At this moment, he was looking in the direction of the stone pavilion. It was Uncle Fong, whom Fei Rin had met in the princess residence. The battle between Chu Qian and Fei Rin was so intense that it naturally attracted the attention of many people. Just as Fei Rin had guessed, other than Uncle Fong, there were many experts from the princess residence who were hiding in the dark. It was because of these people that Fei Rin didn't want to use his full strength in the beginning. If he accidentally hurt Chu Qian, he would be surrounded. Cough, cough. The remaining power gradually dissipated, and a gray figure slowly emerged from it. His originally delicate and pretty face was dirty and messy, and his clothes were tattered. Several clearly visible bruises were engraved on his bare chest, and there were bloodstains on them. It seemed that his injuries were not light. Fortunately, the defense of the Dharma Golden Arm is amazing. Otherwise, I would have been cut in half by this girl's sword. Fei Rin's expression was serious. Although Chu Qian didn't intend to kill him earlier, the power of her sword was extraordinary. It was enough to kill an ordinary martial artist below the 5th level of the Star Realm. This girl's desire to win is too strong. Thinking of this, Fei Rin wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Although he had suffered some injuries, it did not affect his strength much. At this moment, he still had about 70 to 80% of his origin energy left in his dantian, which was enough for him to execute the Dharma Golden Arm several times. On the other hand, his opponent had frequently used a quasi-rank 4 martial art, which consumed a lot of his origin energy. His might and combat strength were no longer as strong as before. "Are you all right?" Looking at Fei Rin in front of her, who was in a sorry state and had wounds on his chest, Chu Qian was slightly stunned. Then, she subconsciously opened her mouth and spoke in a hesitant tone. "I didn't expect that a rogue cultivator like me would receive the princess's concern. It's my honor." Hearing this, the corners of Fei Rin's mouth curled up. There was a playful look on his face. "Nonsense. Who cares about you? I'm just afraid that you'll die. If that happens, I'll have to trouble the princess to collect your corpse." Just as she finished speaking, Chu Qian's face turned red. She immediately understood something and said coldly, "The princess has won. It seems that this kid's strength is only SOSO. There's no need for us to do anything." In a dark corner of the county lord's residence, 2 black-clothed guards with bright eyes could be seen. They seemed to be the experts of the county lord's residence. At this moment, they were quietly hiding and looking in the direction of the stone pavilion from time to time. It was obvious that they had witnessed the battle between Fei Run and Chu Qian. Look, that kid hasn't fallen yet. Suddenly, the other black-clothed guard beside him whispered. What? Hearing his companion's reminder, the black-clothed guard's expression changed slightly. He then looked at Fei Ren, who was not far away. Princess, you're very strong. However, I'm sorry. I can't lose this battle. With a grin, Fei Ren's eyes suddenly flashed with a strong desire to battle. Just like what he had said before, if he lost this battle, he would have to work for the royal family. It was equivalent to signing a contract to sell himself. Naturally, he could not agree to it. Swoosh! Stepping on the afterimages, Fei Ren's figure also shot out like a sharp arrow. In an instant, he charged towards Chu Qian, who was not far away. Previously, it was the other party who had taken the initiative to attack. This was the first time he took the initiative to counterattack. You, how can this be? Seeing that Fei Ren's aura did not decrease and was charging toward her, Chu Qian's expression changed slightly. Due to the frequent use of quasi-level 4 martial arts, there was less than a tenth of the origin power in her body left. Her combat power had decreased greatly, and it was difficult for her to unleash her full strength. Princess, I'm sorry. You. Fei Ren's voice slowly sounded in her ears. Before Chu Qian could react, she saw Fei Ren appear behind her in the next moment. At the same time, his left hand turned into a sword and stretched out. In an instant, he hit all the acupuncture points on her body. His attack was like the wind. The reason why a martial artist was strong was because of the origin power in his dantian. Without the support of origin power, his combat power would be greatly reduced, and he would not be much stronger than an ordinary person. Origin power came from the dantian and gathered in the acupuncture points through the meridians. From there, it allowed a martial artist to control powerful strength. Now that Fei Run had sealed all the acupuncture points on Chu Qian's body, she was temporarily unable to use origin power. It was equivalent to losing all her combat power. Fei Run, you bastard. How dare you use a sneak attack? Despicable. Sensing that her yuan power was rapidly depleting until it completely disappeared, Chu Qian also lightly bit her lips with her pearly white teeth. Her pair of beautiful eyes angrily looked at Fei Ren. Her eyes were filled with resentment, as if she wished she could swallow him alive. Cough, cough. In the face of Chu Qian's abuse, Fei Ren coughed dryly. His expression was helpless. He had no choice but to do this. After all, he could not lose, nor could he injure his opponent. The only way was to seal his opponent's acupuncture points and win without a fight. Princess, I'll take my leave. Now that Chu Qian had lost her combat power, Fei Ren did not want to stay in the princess's residence any longer. He immediately cupped his hands and turned to leave. Fei Ren, stop right there. I haven't lost yet. Seeing that Fei Ren was about to leave, Chu Qian spoke again. A trace of anger appeared on her exquisite face, as if she was not convinced of her loss. However, Fei Ren's speed did not decrease at all. It was obvious that he had no intention of stopping. Miss, are you all right? Fang Bo's figure flickered before he slowly landed beside Chu Qian. His eyebrows were slightly furrowed. He had witnessed the entire fight. Even though Fei Ren's final victory was somewhat disgraceful, he had still won. Moreover, Chu Qian was still too young. Uncle Fang, stop this brat for me. Glancing at Uncle Fang beside her, Chu Qian softly shouted. It was as if she was unwilling to let the matter rest. Miss, didn't you agree to let this little kid leave the princess's residence if he won? Miss, you represent the imperial family. If news of you going back on your word spread, it will inevitably cause criticism in the world. Hearing this, the white-haired elder named Uncle Fang was stunned. He then laughed dryly and advised in a tone of persuasion. Although his strength was enough to stop Fei Run, he did not want to let Chu Qian do as she pleased. After all, the imperial family's image could not be tarnished. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.